Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Sham Kagud here. Now, before I start the discussion, if there is no issue with the sound, please give me a thumbs up so that I can understand that I'm audible to you. Done. Let's start. Let's start. So, last week, I hope Friday, I believe Friday, what we have discussed, we started with the concept of industries. Okay, concept of industries. Those who are saying audio is mute, audio is not there, etc., please refresh. Please refresh. Right, audio is perfectly from my side. Please hit the refresh button. Okay, or there is a button fix audio. Please hit that. So last Friday, I believe we started with the concept of industries. In industries, what we have discussed? In industries, we have discussed the concept of industrial policy of 1948, Industrial Development Regulation Act of 1951. Then we have discussed the industrial policy of 1991, the most important industrial policy of 1991. That is also LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, and globalization reforms. Now, after that, we started with the discussion of certain important current affairs, national infrastructure pipeline, national monetization pipeline, correct? NIP as well as NMP. Now, what is the basic idea for NIP as well as NMP? In case of a national infrastructure pipeline, our concept is we are going to promote the development. We are going to promote the development of more than 9,000 infrastructure projects. Infrastructure projects. Please remember that we are going to promote development of more than 9,000 infrastructure projects, and apart from that, we are going to promote the development of, right, let's say road projects, right, let's say railway projects, power projects. And the whole idea is very simple here. The whole idea is that the infrastructure projects will have multiplier effect. We are going to attract investment from the private sector as well as the government, state government, as well as central government. It will promote the quality of life of the people. It will promote the growth of industries in India, etc. So that is the point of promotion of national infrastructure pipeline. And after that, we have discussed the NMP, national monetization pipeline. Under national monetization pipeline, we are going to basically promote we are basically going to promote monetization of assets. Monetization, that is leasing of the assets. Under NMP, please remember, we are not going to sell the asset, we are going to lease out the asset. In case of leasing out, certain again infrastructure projects such as road, railways, and power sector have been identified, and these projects will be leased out to private sector for a longer duration. Government will be able to collect the money, and government will be able to use this money for various other purposes. For example, government can use this money for development of infrastructure. After that, we have discussed MSME sector, right? Please do let me know. After that, we have discussed MSME sector, micro, small, medium enterprises. MSME classification has been given based on the investment in plant and machinery as well as turnover. If you're going to invest 1 crore rupees up to 1 crore and your turnover is up to 5 crore, then you are referred to as a micro enterprise. Up to 10 crore and 50 crore, right, that is small enterprises. Then 50 crore and 250 crore rupee respectively for investment and turnover, that will be referred to as medium enterprises. Why MSMEs are so important for India? These are important because one, they have accounted for large number of jobs in case of India. There are over 6 crore MSMEs, and all of them put together have created 11 crore jobs in the past. So, in terms of jobs, important. In terms of manufacturing, services sector, because MSMEs are present in both of them, correct, important. In terms of exports, important. So, MSMEs are very important because of these three or four reasons. Then, apart from this, what are the concerns? What are the problems, issues related to MSME sector? Issues are very simple. One, they find it very difficult to get credit, institutional credit. That's very important. Institutional credit. They find it very difficult because they may not have collateral. They may not have very large credit history. They may not have very good civil score or credit score, etc. So apart from that, the non-performing assets in MSME sector is increasing. That is also a concern. Apart from that, because of the pandemic, the credit cycle has become more now, and that is putting a lot of financial pressure on the MSMEs, etc. These are certain very important concerns regarding MSMEs. Then, what are the reforms? What has the government of India done in very recent times? Point number one: government of India, in order to ensure that the MSMEs will get collateral free loans. Collateral free loans has introduced the concept of Mudra Yojana. Right? Under SIDBI, they have introduced the concept of Mudra Yojana, Micro Units Development and Refinancing Agency. Under Mudra Yojana, there are three types of loan products: Shishu, Kishore, Tarun, at maximum up to 10 lakh rupees. Maximum up to 10 lakh rupees without any collateral. The micro and small enterprises can take loans under Mudra Yojana. Then we have seen CGTMAC, Credit Guaranteed Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises, where up to 70 to 75 to 85% of the loans, 75 to 85% of the debt will be guaranteed from this trust. And because it is guaranteed, it will promote a flow of credit to the micro and small enterprises. It will ensure that they will get different types of loans from institutions over a period of time. Apart from this, PSB loans in 59 minutes portal, right, there are various PSPs, public sector banks, which are registered on it. And once you apply for the loan, that is, the borrower will decide from whom they want to take the loan. Once you apply for the loan, wherein, right, the borrower will decide from whom they want to take the loan within 59 minutes. I repeat, within 59 minutes, preliminary approval or in principle approval is provided. Banks will not give you loan, they will give you the approval in 59 minutes. After that, we have discussed a trade system, trade receivables, e-discounting. We have discussed public procurement policy, PPP, public procurement policy, where 25% of the procurement done by the government or the government agencies, they will do it from the micro and small enterprises. And if you remember, I told you within this 25% also, again, we are going to have certain reservation for MSA is owned by women, MSA is owned by scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So these are certain things that we have discussed last Friday. Let me continue. Next concept I want to discuss is two very important indicators: Index of Industrial Production, IIP, Index of Industrial Production. I'll discuss two very important indicators. One is IIP and the second one is ICI. Now follow this very carefully. Every month, if you're reading newspapers, you'll come across a data regarding industrial productivity. That is, in the last 1 month, let's say in the month of July, what has happened to industrial productivity? In the month of August, next month you will get this data. What has happened to industrial productivity? In the month of June, what has happened to industrial productivity? Logic is very simple here. All of you remember the concept of GDP? Let me know. All of you do remember the concept of GDP. And in the calculation of GDP, we calculated something called as GVA, gross value addition. GVA is nothing but gross value addition. Now, please tell me, when you are talking about gross value addition, I repeat, whenever you are talking about gross value addition, please tell me, does it give you information regarding what has happened regarding production units in the last 1 year? Think of it and please do let me know. Will you able to come to know what has happened to quantity of production in the last quarter, in the last 1 year? Answer is no. Right? This, some of you are saying yes, which means you are not revising. My dear, you are not revising. In case of gross value addition, we are not identifying what is the change in the quantity of output. Please know, please revise it. In GVA, we simply find out how much is the value addition done in the economy. We are not calculating how much is how much is volume changes. I repeat, under GVA, we are not calculating how much is the change in the volume. We are calculating how much is the change in the value. For example, if you remember, right, I took an example of this bottle itself. If the cost of steel was 90 rupee and you sell this bottle at 100 rupee, how much is the value addition done in this example? The value addition done will be simply 10 rupees. So I hope you remember, in case of GVA, gross value addition, the name itself is indicator. We are calculating how much is the change in the value added to the economy. We are not targeting how much is the change in the quantity output. Whereas in case of IIP, what is the long form? IIP simply stands for Index of Industrial Production. IIP simply stands for Index of Industrial Production. In case of index of industrial production, we are going to measure how much is the volume changes that are taking place in the economy. All of you okay with this? How much is the volume changes that are taking in the economy? Now, please think of it and tell me, if IIP will keep on falling down, if IIP will keep on contracting, all of you understand the term contracting? If IIP will keep on contracting, don't you think it will have a huge impact on GVA as well as a GDP? I'll repeat the statement. If IIP will keep on contracting, if IIP will keep on falling down from 100 units to 90, 90 units to 80, 80 units to 70 like this continuously, will it have an impact on value addition as well as GDP numbers? Of course, answer is yes. Of course, the answer is yes. If your volume keeps on falling down, it will definitely have an impact on GVA, right? And this will definitely have an impact on GDP. Now, please think of it and let me know. In that case, one point I say IIP is measured on monthly basis. That is, for every month, IIP is measured. Second, just now we have established, if IIP will keep on changing, it will also have an impact on GDP as well as GVA. Then can I simply say IIP is a very important tool for policy making? Let me know. I'll repeat the statement here. Two very important points. Just connect the dots, you'll understand everything. Just now we have established IIP measures changes in volume. Second, IIP is measured monthly. And point number three, if IIP will keep on contracting, it will definitely have an impact on GVA as well as GDP. Then can I simply say that using all the 3 points, IIP is a very important tool for us, which will help us in policy making. For example, Government of India might look at IIP continuously contracting. Don't you think that's an indicator that in the coming days GDP would be affected? Don't you think that's an indicator of GVA getting affected? So government should implement certain policies in order to promote productivity, in order to promote more and more production in the economy. That is the reason why IIP is a very, very important tool. And more importantly, please remember this. Do we calculate GDP every month? Let me know. Do we calculate the GDP every month? No, we calculate GDP for every quarter. Whereas on the other side, we calculate IIP on monthly basis for the month of June, for the month of July, for the month of August. For monthly basis, IIP is calculated. That is the reason IIP is so important in terms of making policies for Reserve Bank of India, Government of India, to make estimates regarding what would be the overall GDP number in the next 1 year or in the next quarter. To make estimates, even the data of IIP will help. So, Index of Industrial Production, it is published by NSO, National Statistical Office, right? This is published for every month. Please remember this. This is published for every month, And whenever I say every month, it should be very clear to all of you now. Whenever they talk for monthly production data, monthly inflation data, quarterly GDP numbers, etc., it is compared to the same time period in the previous year. Is the logic okay? Right? Earlier also we have discussed. Sir, why do they compare last year? Why not previous quarter? Why not previous month? All of this we have established earlier. Right? So whenever they say monthly data, it is compared to the same month in the last year. That is basically the idea of a IIP. The next important point. Do you think all the units of production, all the goods which are produced in India should have the same equal importance? Should have equal weightage when you're measuring IIP? Right? So just think of it. There will be certain goods which are very much necessary for the economy. For example, cement, steel, electricity. Don't you think these are very important? It will have a larger bearing on the whole growth in the economy. That is the precise reason. Whenever you talk about IIP, please by heart this table. Please do not make a mistake and by heart this table. there are, right, three very important groups of products. That is, these are three sectors. There is a mining, manufacturing, and electricity sector. Now, because manufacturing accounts greatly to the GDP, very high to the GVA, we give a lot of weightage to manufacturing sector. Right, that is a 77 percentage of the weightage is given to manufacturing sector. And mining sector accounts for the second highest weightage, around 14%, and the third highest weightage is given to, or lowest weightage has been given to, electricity sector. So simple logic here. To identify how much is the change in the output, we measure the change in 407 items. 407 items. Out of 407 items, 405 items will fall under the manufacturing, and it carries a weightage of 77 plus odd. Second highest is one, that is mining. It carries a weightage of around 14%. And the lowest is electricity. That is again one item group carries the weightage of 8%. Now, please simply by heart this table. Simply by heart. Do not enter into, sir, how many 400, how many goods are there in 405. Give me the list. I will sit and by heart. Please don't waste your time. All of that is irrelevant for GS paper 3. Even for optional paper 3, we don't say by heart this list. So for GS paper 3, all of that is not needed. Done. Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? All of you okay with index of industrial production? Anybody has a problem, please do let me know. Okay, done. Let me go to the next one. Index of 8 core industries. ICI. Index of 8 core industries. Now, what we do is basically this. Understand this very carefully. Out of the three sectors, which are there in index of industrial production, we will identify certain very important industries. I'll repeat the statement. Concept is simple, do not complicate it. There are three sectors in IIP. So out of these three sectors, we will identify 8 very important industries. And now we will simply calculate what is the change in the production for only 8 industries. Is the logic okay? I'll repeat it again. Right, so there are three sectors. Right, let's say sector A, B, and C under IIP. And out of these three sectors, we will identify 8 industries. We will simply identify 8 industries. And we will measure how much is the change in the production in 8 industries. And some of you are asking, sir, why are we targeting only 8? My dear, please look at the sectors. Please look at the industries, you will understand. Cement, coal, the natural gas, refinery products, steel, right, oil, fertilizer, etc. Please look at all these 8 and please let me know, are these the most important raw materials in the economy or not? Please think of it. Please think the logic behind it. All these 8 are very, very important industries for Indian economy. That is the only reason. That's the only reason why we keep a track of only 8 industries under this. Okay. So these 8 industries are cement, coal, crude oil, electricity, fertilizer, natural gas, refinery products, and steel. And again, this index of industrial production is given for every month. Same way, index of 8 core industries is given for every month. But remember the authority, this is published for every month by OEA, that is Office of Economic Advisor, which functions under Ministry of Commerce with the base year. For both of them, base year is same, 2011 and 2012. Now, there is one more very important point here. Has a total weight of 40.27% of IIP. Now, let me give a very simple example. Focus, I'll ask a question now. Please focus, I'll ask a question. Imagine sector A, sector B, and a sector C. This has been given a weightage of 40%. This has been given a weightage of 35%. And this has been given a weightage of 25%, totally 100%. Now, let's say sector A, this is a hypothetical calculation. Hypothetical calculation to make you understand. Let's say sector A right, has 3 industries. Sector B has 3 industries. Sector C also has 3 industries. Let's say, okay. Now, this is 10%, right? That is D, just a second, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Okay, so 10%, 20%, and 10%. Right, let's say G is 10%. This is 18%. Okay, and this is 7%. C is right, let's say 8%, 7%, and 10%. All of you okay with this? All of you okay with this? Just I'm giving a hypothetical example. I'm giving you a hypothetical example. And some of you are asking very interesting questions, right? Think of this. Please think and let me know. There are 2 students who are asking, so these 8 industries, is it fixed or they pick it up randomly? What do you think? Let me know. Right? Is these 8 sectors, 8 industries, are they fixed or they will pick it up randomly every month? My dear, what do you think? How do you say, right, it is going to be picked up randomly? Then you think there is any kind of fixed pattern that you will be able to follow? No, you will have to have a fixed pattern only. I hope you understand. You cannot pick up anything randomly. Then government will always pick up again. If there is no fixed pattern, government will pick up anything randomly which will favor their argument. How? Right? Think of it. No, please think of it. Now, just to make you understand, right? There's a statement. What is the statement? It has a total weight of 40.27% of IIP. What do you mean by this? Let me give a simple example here. Imagine there are 3 sectors. Sector A, which is given a weightage of 40%, sector B, which is given a weightage of 35%, and sector C, which is given a weightage of 25%. Now, right, let's say out of all these, how many sectors are there? 3 sectors are there. And how many industries? 3 industries here, 3 industries here, and 3 industries here. Let's say out of all of them, 5 are picked up. Out of all these 9, 5 are picked up. Let's say D, right, F, G, J, right, and let's say K. Now take their weightages. How much is the weightage of D? 10%. F is 10%. G is 10%. J is 8%, and K is 7%. Get the sum total: 30, 40, 45. Now please understand this. Can I say these 5 industries, have 45% of total of these 3 sectors? Let me know. I'll repeat the statement here again. Imagine out of 9, 5 industries are taken. Can I say these 5 industries have a weightage of 45% of all the 3 sectors? Now, right, there are 8 industries. Instead of 5, there are 8 industries. I will take individual weights for all of them, get the sum total. Have a look at the total now. The total turns out to be 40.27% of total IIP. All of you are okay with this weightage now? Think of it and please do let me know. All of you are okay with this weightage? Why they write it as 40.27% of IIP? Out of IIP, what is the individual weight for these 8 industries? Get the sum total. That comes out to be 40.27% of IIP. Earlier, some of you are asking, sir, why are you discussing so much on this? Earlier, the number was different. Couple of years ago, the number was somewhere around 38%. Government of India has changed the matrix again, has changed the composition. That is the precise reason. Now it becomes 40.27% of IIP. Done. And finally, this is published for every month by Office of Economic Advisor. Now there are 2 students who are asking, sir, why is that there are 2 different authorities which are publishing these 2 indices? Because both of them are related. There is IIP. Out of IIP only I'm taking some of them and we are making it as ICI. Please understand, over a period of time, okay, over a period of time, there has been a lot of changes in terms of ministries under government of India. All of you okay with this? There's a lot of changes in the ministries under the government of India. For example, if I were to ask you, there is a ministry, there is a department called as a Department of Public Enterprises. DP stands for Department of Public Enterprises. Now have a look at this. Have a look at this. The Department of Public Enterprises, couple of years ago, it was basically a part of Ministry of Heavy Industries. I repeat, this was a part of Ministry of Heavy Industries, MHI. Today, now this is not part of Heavy Industries. It is basically a part of Ministry of Finance. It is not part of Heavy Industries. It is a part of Ministry of Finance. Now, don't you think because of these kind of changes that will take place under the composition of a government, that is a ministries will be broken up into two different ministries, or departments will be broken, joined into another department, another ministry. Because of these kind of things, right, you might end up having two different authorities publishing two different indices. All of you okay with this? You might end up having two different ministries, two different departments which are publishing two different right, indices. That is very much possible. That's very much possible. I'll give you one more example. All of you are coming across authority called as NSO. Correct? All of you are coming across an authority called as NSO, National Statistical Office. How many of you know that earlier NSO was actually two different authorities? One was NSSO and the second one was basically CSO, Central Statistical Office, as well as National Sample Survey Organization. So I hope you understand, Government of India took these two authorities, made into only one authority, NSO. So I hope you understand the logic here. Right, over a period of time, they'll keep on changing the composition of the government. They'll keep on changing the composition. That is a precise reason. Sometimes you will end up having only one authority publishing multiple indices, or you'll end up having two different authorities publishing two different indices. That is perfectly natural. That generally happens under the government. But you do not worry about it. You simply remember which is the authority which is publishing it. Done? Can we go forward now? At least now it is okay. Anybody has a problem with this? Okay. Then finally, regarding the index of industrial production as well as ICI, please remember, for index of 8 core industries, for ICI, what is the weightage for all of these items? Within those 8 components, which has the highest weightage, which has the lowest weightage? If you ask me, please by heart the top 2 to 3 and bottom 2 to 3. I'll repeat myself. Some of you might simply say, sir, it is very difficult to remember all the 8. Agreed, right? Very difficult to remember all the 8 with so many things else to remember. My recommendation would be at least try to remember the top 2, 3 and bottom 2 to 3. Right? Refinery products have the highest weightage, 28%. Electricity, second highest weightage of 19%. Cement and fertilizer have the lowest two weightages of 5.3% and 2.6%. Try to remember at least the top 2 and bottom 2, so that if at all a question is asked in UPSC, which in fact was asked earlier, you will have sufficient data to answer such questions. Done? So this is IIP and ICI. Anybody has got any kind of a doubt? Please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward. Right? Anybody has got any kind of doubt? Please let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward. Does ICI help same as IIP? Of course, yes. Of course, yes, my dear. Both of them. That is IIP as well as ICI. Both are taken. Right? Both are taken for policy making. Right? And please understand, sir, this will come every month in the newspaper. Should I by heart the data in the newspaper? Please don't by heart. Why? Because it is published every month. Data is very frequent. Data will keep on changing. So you do not have to by heart the data every month. Remember what we have discussed, why they are important. That's more than sufficient. Is this book sufficient? My dear, one static book is more than sufficient. Okay. how crude oil weight is different from refinery. Both are considered to be different products. Please understand. Right? Crude oil is basically an input or let's say output in one industry. Refinery products are different because these are different products in different industries considered differently. Again, some of you just try to make it much more complicated. Not required. Why? Some of you are asking, sir, how can you decide the weightages? I did not decide this, Baba. I did not decide it. Government generally sets up a committee will decide what should be the weightage based on the requirement. Your argument should be, sir, what should I remember in this table, rather than trying to complicate everything. We can discuss, we can hours and hours together, we can discuss on IP and ICI, but is it needed for GS paper 3? Please think that, is it needed so much for GS paper 3? Absolutely no. In that case, you will never finish reading GS paper 3 because everything is new for you. Everything you'll have to read in detail. Right? That's the reason. Do not complicate it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Right? What should you remember? How it is required? What kind of questions can be asked in UPSC? I'm trying to tell you that. Just stick to that. Okay. Currently, NSO and OEA are both part of the Ministry of Statistics and Commerce. Where is the Ministry of Statistics and Commerce? Right, there is one Ministry of Statistics, there is another Ministry of Commerce. Okay, okay. Next, services sector. Next is the concept of services sector. Now, first and foremost, what do you mean by services? Please remember, services are nothing but these are intangible products. Many of you ask me, sir, what do you mean by services? Services are nothing but intangible products. What do you mean by intangible? Anything that you cannot see, anything that you cannot touch, anything that cannot be expressed in terms of height, weight, etc. These are called as intangible. These are called as intangible products. Right? All of you okay with this? What are services? Services are intangible products. You cannot touch them. You cannot define them in terms of height, weight, length, etc. Right? That is the reason these are called as intangible products. So, any example? Swiggy delivery, food delivery, right? Delivery is a service. Please understand this very carefully. Sir, you said food delivery, but I can see food. I can weigh the food. I can talk in terms of length, breadth, etc. My dear, delivery is the services there. Transportation services, internet services, banking services, labor services. So I hope you understand the logic here. So intangibility means invisibility. You cannot see them, you cannot touch them, you cannot define them. That is the reason these are called as intangible products. Now, why services sector are so important for Indian economy? What is the importance of services sector? Importance of services sector is that, first one, these will contribute greatly to the GDP numbers in India. How much? Generally, more than 50%. More than 50%. Please remember this. More than 50% contribution to the GDP actually comes from the services sector. And it will keep on changing from one year to next year. Please do not by heart numbers. Generally, it will be in the range of 50 to 55%. 50 to 55%. Sorry, if I'm writing exams next year, then which data do I remember? Next year economic survey, next year budget document, whatever they give you, please by heart that data. So more than 50%, more than 50% of the contribution comes from the services sector. Second one, they also account for a lot of jobs generated in India. They account for a lot of jobs generated. Sir, how much? Generally between 25 to 30%. Generally between 25 to 30% of the jobs which are generated will come from the services sector. We are exporting a lot of these services to international market. We are exporting a lot of these services to international market. Best example, the software services. And when we export, we will be able to earn lot of forex. We'll be able to bring in lot of dollars into India. And finally, lot of FDI, lot of foreign direct investment. Today we'll discuss that. Have patience. Today we'll discuss what is FDI. Lot of foreign direct investment we attract under the services sector. All of you okay with the importance? Why service sector is so important? Simple logic. Employment generation, we are exporting them, we are bringing dollars into India because of these exports, right? These contribute more than 50% to the GDP, etc. These are the reasons why service sector is so important for India. And these are some of the examples. These are some of the examples of services sector. And as I've explained, do not complicate everything. Some of you are asking, sir, you're saying this, but how can this become a service? You're saying this, how can this become a service? My dear, please think logically. Please think logically. For example, I gave you example of food delivery. Because you are receiving food, can you say the food delivery is a product? Can you say it's a good? Please think of it. Arey Baba, please think no. Why do people keep on complicating everything? If I say I'm delivering food to your home, do you think food delivery is a good? Sir, because food is there, I will call this as a good. But what about the transportation logistics that is involved there? So this food delivery is considered to be a service. It is considered to be a service. Sir, I went to the bank. I withdrew money. Money I can see. I can measure the length of the money. I can take the weight of the money. But my dear, what about the services which are provided to you by the bank there? So banking services they will call it as. Sir, agriculture, how can you call this a service? My dear, I'm talking about, let's say, labor services which are there in agriculture sector. Think of it. Labor services in the agriculture sector. So real estate, how can you call this as a service? It's a good. My dear, along with the real estate that is flat, are you not going to receive lot of services? So that's the reason. Do not complicate it. And moreover, I've taken this table from economic survey. I hope you understand. I've taken this, right, in economic survey, table from economic survey. Right, so government of India consider these as services. Please take it and go forward. Please take it and go forward. And do not buy heart this list. Please do not buy heart this list. You don't need to buy heart what kind of services you actually receive. For example, I am providing services to you now. All of you okay? I'm providing services. Right? Teaching is a service. Right? So let's say you will use Ola cab. Ola cab, you can measure the length of the car. You can measure the weight of the car, but it's a service. I hope you understand. It's a service. So you do not need to buy hard this particular list. Simply remember the logic. Simply remember some examples. Right? Information technology is a service. Banking is a service. Right? Traveling is a service. Logistics is a service. All these are services. Okay. Now, why there has been a growth of services sector in India? Why service sector today account for more than 50% of the GDP or gross value addition in the context of India? So have a look at this. Some of the reasons, some very important reasons, right, why services sector has grown in India are these: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's go point by point. First one, LPG reforms announced by the government. Yes or no? Anybody has a doubt how LPG reforms has promoted growth of services sector in India? Liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Look at all the three pillars under the industrial policy of 1991, and please do let me know whether the first point is okay with all of you. If government of India will deregulate, if government will allow foreign companies to invest in India, etc., will that not promote growth of services sector? Of course, yes. It will automatically promote the growth of services sector. Point number two, the companies, the firms also have grown, as a result of which the service sector is also being promoted. Sir, how is that possible? If the companies grow, how the service sector will get the benefit? Very simple example. Imagine you start a very small software company, only 3 people are working. but you will get lot of funds. You will expand your operations from 3 people, you will become 500 people. Now, point number one, when your office size increases from 300 to 500, will you take offices on lease, real estate space on lease or not? That's a service. Point number one, real estate will take a office space on lease. That is services only. Point number two, will you not outsource a hiring company to hire people and give to you? That is also right, outsourcing of the services. Third one, when you take a real estate which is large office space, will you hire cleaning services? Will you hire security services? Will you hire transportation services? Yes or no? So I hope you understand the logic behind it. When companies will start experiencing growth, these kinds of right services demand will also increase. So in case of India post 1991, companies have grown. Companies have actually grown, and as a result of this, services sector is also getting the benefit of it. Third one, global trade is being promoted, and it has increased in the last 2 to 3 decades. The global trade in goods, global trade in services also has increased. Now, best example how rising global trade has benefited service sector in India. Please think of it and let me know. Has there been a growth of BPO services in India? Think of it. Has there been a growth of BPO services? Right? Has the logistics sector in India benefited because of the global trade? Of course, yes. What about software industry? What about software industry? With the promotion of global trade, with more and more global trade, will it not get the benefit? Right? So all these are the factors, right? That is the rising global trade has benefited Indian economy, that is specifically services sector. Rise in incomes also has led to increased demand for services. Rise in the income of the people. It's a fact that post 1991, per capita income of India has actually increased. It's a fact. Per capita income of all the Indians has increased. Now please think and let me know. If your income increases, will the demand for the services in the economy increase? Think of it. Right? If the incomes will start increasing, will the demand for services increase? For example, sir, what kind of services? My dear, if your income increases, what will be the demand for transportation services? What will be the demand for internet services? Demand for food delivery services, entertainment services, telecom services, etc. All of you okay with this? So, rise in the incomes also has led to demand for services in India. Point number five, cheaper human labor availability in India. Again, when I say cheaper, I'm talking in terms of cost. A USA company, rather than manufacturing in USA, will come in India, set up the manufacturing facility in India. Why do you think they do that? Rather than hiring software engineers in USA, they will come to India, hire software engineers in India. Why do you think they will do that? Because comparatively, it will work out, because the prices that they pay is, the incomes that they pay is, salaries that they pay is, it is comparatively cheaper in India. Right? So in case of India, the one factor which has basically helped us in growth of services sector is comparatively we can provide a cheaper labor to the foreign companies. And finally, rise of new types of activities because of the growth in technology, because of new technology development, etc. For example, think of it. Don't you think Ola cab services is possible because of better technology available today compared to 20 years ago? Right? Let's say Zomato delivery services. It is possible today because we have a better technology today compared to 20 years ago. So, a lot of these services have benefited by the development of technology. Right? So, these are some of the reasons why suddenly in case of India, the service sector has started performing very, very well. Again, when I say suddenly, please do not misunderstand the term here. The reason is, even before 1991, service sector was doing well in India. Service sector has done well in India, but the growth rate that it has experienced post 1991 is a remarkable, has experienced a very, very high growth rate, especially post 1991 in India. That's the reason I said suddenly, right, post 1991, service sector has grown very fast. Done. So these are some of the reasons why service sector has started performing very well in India. But having said so, please understand, are there concerns regarding this? Of course, yes. There are certain concerns. I'll come to certain other concerns also. But think of it, in case of India, or generally for that matter, how the growth will be achieved. First, right, there is basically a division here. Basically, a division. They will call this as primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Primary, secondary, and tertiary sector. What is basically the idea for primary, secondary, and tertiary? In primary sector, we keep agriculture. Right? Primary is associated with agriculture. Secondary is associated with industries, that is manufacturing. And the third, that is tertiary, is associated with services sector. Now, whenever you talk about development of economy, whenever you talk about, right, growth in the economies, evolution of economies, we will move from primary to secondary and then from secondary to tertiary. Very simple logic. We will move from primary to secondary and from secondary to tertiary. That is how the growth or the economy generally evolves. You can take any developed country. Sir, for example, USA. Has it grown like this? Of course, yes. What about UK? In UK also the growth was from primary to secondary, secondary to tertiary. But in case of India, please remember, we have directly shifted. In fact, this was asked by UPSC once. I'll show you the question later. We have directly shifted from primary to tertiary now. We have not been able to attain very high good growth rate in case of secondary, but we have directly jumped from primary to tertiary now. Primary to tertiary, right? What has happened to secondary? We have skipped secondary. We were not able to have a very good growth rate in secondary, then move to tertiary. We directly have jumped from primary to tertiary. And if you ask me, sir, how is that possible? How is that possible? Please look at the previous slide. Look at the previous slide. Can I say these are the reasons why we have jumped from primary to tertiary directly? Let me know. Please look at the previous slide, right? Look at the reasons. LPG reforms, growth in industries, right? Or let's say rising per capita incomes, etc., etc. Can I say these are some of the reasons why we have jumped directly from the primary to tertiary? So we have basically skipped growing, developing in the secondary sector. And that is the precise reason why Government of India now promotes a lot of activities in the services, lot of activities in the manufacturing sector. Right? If you look at the initiatives of Government of India, if you look at, right, initiatives of Government of India, don't you think most of the initiatives, not all of them, large number of the initiatives are associated with manufacturing sector? Correct? Let me know whether it makes sense or not. Lot of these initiatives, not all of them, even in service sector they have some initiatives, even in primary they have some initiatives. But the large number of initiatives where Government of India has focused its energies, don't you think they are present in manufacturing sector? Best example, PLI, production linked incentives. Right? Where is the PLI focused? Where is the argument of PLI? Argument of PLI is to promote manufacturing sector in India. Earlier we promoted special economic zones. Again, target was manufacturing sector. Right? There was one more NIMZ, National Investment and Manufacturing Zones. Again, the target was manufacturing. Right? So manufacturing we need to promote, because please understand there is a very close linkage. There is a very close linkage. What is the linkage? Think of it and do let me know. Can I say secondary sector output is very important to promote tertiary as well as primary sector? I'll repeat my statement. Just think of it and do let me know. The output in the secondary sector is very important in order to promote output in tertiary as well as primary sector. So if you want to become a developed country, if you want to be recognized as the largest economy, third largest, second largest, etc., etc., We need to promote secondary sector. That's very simple. We need to promote a secondary sector. And that is what government of India in the last 1 decade has been trying to do. We have promoted SCGs to promote manufacturing. We'll discuss that today. We have been promoting industrial policy. We have been promoting Make in India. Again, in Make in India, we are targeting services sector also, but we are targeting manufacturing. We'll discuss that. Right? We have a production linked incentive, right? Etc. Etc. Done? Right? So these are certain important points. Please be very careful. Now, what are the challenges? What are the concerns regarding the services sector? First one, pandemic. Anybody has a doubt? Anybody has a problem regarding the point number one? Please do let me know. Pandemic has disrupted, right, most of the services sector. I'll not say all of it, most of the services sector. For example, what do you think happened to hospitality sector during pandemic? What do you think happened to tourism sector during pandemic, etc.? So most of the services sector, not all of them, most of the services sector were affected because of the pandemic. Having said so, has it affected the whole of services sector? That would be wrong. It did not affect the whole of services sector. For example, what about healthcare sector? Healthcare is a service. Healthcare is a service, right? For those of you who will keep on asking me how it can become services, injection is there, medicine is there. Healthcare is a service, my dear, right? So healthcare is a service. So healthcare sector, do you think it was affecting negatively? That is, pandemic affected negatively healthcare sector? No, pandemic actually boosted the revenues in the healthcare sector. But on the other side, what about tourism? What about hospitality sector, etc.? It affected negatively. Second, rising or increasing trade barriers. Now, please do let me know how many of you did read the two articles that I gave on Friday regarding trade barriers that Indian exports are facing. Let me know. How many of you have got time in the last 48 hours? In the last 48 hours, in fact, it is 72. So, Friday completely over, Saturday and Sunday, 72 hours. How many of you were able to get time to read about the trade barriers that Indian exports are facing? Right? So, basically, all of you are okay with second point now? All of you okay with second point? When I say lot of these exports which will happen from India, they will face trade barriers. Right? That is a very simple point. Do not complicate it. Third one, attracting FDI in only certain sectors. Right? We are attracting FDI, no doubt. But the FDI that has flown into India, it has not flown equally in all the services sector areas. In some of the service sector, it is very high. In some of the services sector areas, it is very, very less. For example, right, in case of the FDI that has come into India, 1/6 of it generally enters into IT and ITES related service sector. IT stands for information technology and ITES information technology enabled services. So attracting FDI, we have attracted a lot of FDI, no doubt. But is it entering into all the components in the services sector? No. Some of it attract more, some of it attract lesser. Right? So that is also a concern. Next one, high contribution in GDP but accounts for lesser percentage of employment. If you talk about contribution to GDP, it is more than 50%. But in terms of employment, right, around 30%. So contribution is very high, but basically generation of jobs is very, very less. Some of you will ask me, sir, how is that possible? How is that possible that it accounts very large to the GDP number, but it accounts very less to the growth in employment? How is that possible? I'll write two terms here. Please remember this. One is called as a capital intensive. Second one is called as labor intensive. One is capital intensive. Second one is labor intensive. And when I say capital intensive and labor intensive, please do let me know how many of you were able to read the Hindu editorial on Saturday. Let me see. Saturday I did not have class. Don't tell me. Right? So let me know. Saturday, Hindu newspaper editorial. Right, sir, what was the title of the editorial? It should not be GDP, but focus should be on JDP. Correct? GDP, JDP. Now, if you have read that article, please tell me, have you come across the term, it is not labor intensive? Let me know. Have you come across the term where the author says this is not labor intensive? And by the way, those who are wondering, sir, I read but don't remember, but what is that idea, etc. Argument is very simple. You can invest a lot of money. But two things. One, when the investment is done in purchasing capital machineries. When investment is done in purchasing capital machinery, and when investment is done and lot of jobs are generated, rather than investing in machinery, you will invest, but lot of jobs are generated. Please understand, under both of the situations, production can increase. All of you okay with this? Under both of these situations, production can increase. If you purchase a machinery, can you increase production? Yes. Can you hire more people and increase production? Of course, yes. So argument is simple. Whether you are going to invest in machinery or create more jobs, GDP can increase. But please think of it. In the second one, don't you think you're generating more jobs compared to the first one? Yes or no? In the second one, you are creating more jobs compared to first one. All of you okay with this? Sir, any example of it? Think of it. If I invest my money in a sector where I'll purchase lot of machines, for example, power generation. All of you okay with this? Electricity generation, right? You will set up a coal production plant. You'll set up a steel manufacturing plant. Do you think on labor money will be spent more? No, you will spend more money in purchasing machines. Whereas on the other side, labor intensive, gems and jewelry. Gems and jewelry. If you're reading newspapers, very recently a lot of discussion is happening on gems and jewelry, especially targeting one of the cities in Gujarat, Surat. I don't know how many of you have been able to read that article, but again, it did not appear in newspapers, generally these newspapers, but otherwise, lot of discussions happening on gems and jewelry. Please be focused on that. What about textile units? What about textile units? So don't you think gems and jewelry and textile units, right? These are, in case of both of them, lot of employment requirement will be there. Lot of jobs are generated. So please do let me know. I'll use a statement. Let me know whether this makes sense or not. We will be able to achieve higher GDP, not necessarily through labor intensive sector, but through capital intensive sector also. I'll repeat the statement. By promotion of capital intensive sectors or by investing more in capital intensive sectors, we'll be able to achieve more GDP. And again, some of you will say, sir, what about labor intensive? Can we achieve more GDP there also? Of course, yes. But that is not my statement. My statement is simple. Can we achieve more GDP by investing in capital intensive sectors? Yes. Right? On labor intensive? Of course, yes. But let me know, if I'm going to invest more in capital intensive, achieve higher GDP, can I say, in this example, GDP growth rate would be higher compared to employment growth rate? I'll repeat the statement. I will repeat the statement here. In capital intensive sectors, I will invest more, achieve higher GDP. But in this example, the GDP growth rate will be higher compared to employment growth rate. All of you okay with this? Are Baba, some of you are saying no. How can you say no? Please do let me know. Those who are saying no, I will not take the names of the students. But let me know, why are you saying no? If I invest in capital intensive, my GDP will increase. So GDP growth rate would become higher compared to employment growth rate. I'm not saying I will not generate jobs here. Some of you are, right, are not following what I'm trying to convey to you people. You're not following. Please listen. I am not saying I will not generate jobs here. My argument is, in this example, my investment in machinery is more. Do you understand? For example, to manufacture this bottle, I can hire 5 people, ask them to manufacture the bottle. But in this example, how many jobs have generated? 5. Second example, I will hire only one person, spend 50 lakh rupees to purchase a machine. I will ask the person to operate a machine and make a bottle. So in this second example, it is capital intensive. First example, it is a labor intensive. At least now the logic is okay with all of you. Some of you are saying, but sir, jobs are generated, people are there to operate. That was never the argument. The argument was very simple. How many jobs we generate in example 1, right? Jobs generated are very less compared to jobs generated in example 2. Now, please think of it. If you follow a growth where it is capital intensive, can this lead to jobless growth phenomenon? Let me know. I will repeat the statement, and in case of India, it is actually applicable. In case of India, this is actually applicable. Listen to me very carefully. If you invest more in capital intensive industry, and that will generate growth, but not very high job generation, can I call this as a jobless growth phenomenon? That is, your growth rate is higher. Your growth rate, GDP growth rate, is growing at a very fast pace compared to employment growth rate. And that was actually argued. This is required. Generally, I would have discussed it, but this was very nicely argued in the Saturday's Hindu newspaper article. Please read that if you have not read it. Please read that article if you have not read it. Can I simply say again, if you have read that article, and if there's a question on semiconductor industry, in fact, the argument that was taken was of a semiconductor industry. So is it okay if I say one of the problems with promotion of semiconductor industry is it is capital intensive but not labor intensive? Think of it. If you have read that article, this was the point that the author actually made. Right? Semiconductor industry, very good. It is actually needed. Semiconductors are actually needed. Government is promoting semiconductor industries now. But the author proves that semiconductor industry is capital intensive but not labor intensive. So what we need to do, right? Promote other sectors also which are labor intensive, which will create lot of jobs. Any problem? Can I go forward? And because I'm talking about Hindu newspaper here, today's Hindu newspaper, please read about pulses. The first page, there is an article on pulses. Please read that. Nothing difficult, very simple, supply and demand. Right, the first article, which is on the first page itself, it is on pulses. Please read that article. It's a very, very simple article. Second article, it is about irrigation. Central page, it is about irrigation. Very recently, there is a lot of concern regarding India receiving one of the lowest rainfalls in the month of August. I hope you understand. Very less rainfall, or the one of the lowest rainfall in the month of August, right, in case of India. So there is a concern. There is a very nice article about irrigation. Do not by heart data. Data is not relevant to you. Data is not at all relevant to you. The third article, I am unable to recollect it now. There is one more article. Onion. There is one more article, onion, right, regarding onion, right, lasoon, paz, right, a lot of discussions happening regarding all these agriculture commodities. Please read that. Right, onion prices. Regarding onion prices, lot of discussions happening. Right, yesterday there was article regarding 40% export duty. Today it is about buffer. Today it is about a buffer, right? It is about having buffer stocks of onion, right? Increasing the buffer stocks of onion in case of India. So three very important articles, right, from Hindu newspaper, today's newspaper. Please read it. I hope you people are making efforts to read this, right? Otherwise, there is no point in me reading early morning, sitting, reading, coming and telling you, and I'll say, right, chal, right, I'll not read it. You say whatever you want, I'll not read it. So please make efforts. It is for your benefit. Okay, done. Now, sorry, any articles in Indian Express, my dear? Indian Express, the PDF edition is available at 6 o'clock. The PDF edition is available at 6 o'clock, and 6 o'clock I am there in the class. So early morning, I have very limited time. I generally end up reading Hindu newspaper, so I will be able to tell you only Hindu newspaper today. Right? So Okay, done. So what are the reforms that the government of India has taken? What are the reforms that government of India has taken to promote services sector? First one, Startup India. We'll discuss it now. Startup India will discuss. Second one is SEIS. Please do let me know. Did we discuss service exports from India scheme? I'm pretty sure I've discussed it, but you tell me. Service exports from India scheme. Sir, where have you discussed? Right, please open the annotated PPT. It is not there in the slide, I know. Open the annotated PPT for international trade. Open the annotated PPT for international trade. In one of the slides, I would have discussed MEIS and SEIS. Okay. So service sector exports. Third one, FDI reforms, foreign direct investment. We'll discuss FDI. Right, don't worry. We'll discuss FDI today. And finally, GST, goods and services tax. Right, sir, where you have discussed GST, please go back. Right, please go back the argument of taxation. In that, we have discussed a lot of reforms, that is GST. Now, what is a startup India? Right, what is this idea for startup India? Please listen to me very carefully. I'll discuss two very important reforms now. Two very important reforms. One is Make in India. Second one is Startup India. And the third one, PLI, we already have covered it. PLI does not cover services, it covers only manufacturing. It covers products, it doesn't cover services. Now, what is this Make in India? What is the concept of Make in India? Make in India, basically it is an initiative of Government of India under which Government of India wants to attract foreign investment as well as a domestic investment in order to promote certain sectors, manufacturing as well as services. I will repeat it again. Under Make in India, Government of India, it's an initiative. It's an initiative of Government of India wherein they want to promote manufacturing and services by attracting investment from the domestic market as well as investment from the foreign market. Next, sir, how many areas are covered under manufacturing? How many areas are covered under services? Please remember the number. Do not by heart them. Right, length is very right. The number of sectors is very high. It's very lengthy list. Do not by heart. Try to remember two to three at least. Try to remember two to three. And again, these are not very new. Most of you'll be able to remember them. For example, shipping and railways. Please tell me, is it difficult to remember shipping and railways? Right, so shipping and railways, food processing, because it is already over, it is easier for you to remember. Right, so Make in India, 15 areas from manufacturing sector and 12 areas from the services sector. 12 from the services, 15 from manufacturing. In fact, earlier the total list had only 25. Now it has been increased to 27 areas. 27 areas are covered under Make in India. That's the reason I said the list is very long, very difficult to remember. You don't need to remember, right? You don't require all of that. Try to remember two to three, that should be more than sufficient. Now, this is a list. What are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to achieve with Make in India? Let's start. Point number one, it will attract lot of investment. We want to attract lot of investment from the domestic market as well as foreign market. So investment will be promoted. Second one, please think of it. If you're going to attract investment in aerospace, if you're going to attract investment, right, let's say in automotive and auto components, if you're going to attract investments in electronics systems design and manufacturing, please think of it and let me know. Will you attract lot of investment in research and development as well? Think of it. Will you be able to attract lot of investments? Will the investment in R&D also start increasing? Of course, answer is yes. Of course, answer is simply yes. So point number one, we want to attract overall investment. Second one, we want to attract investment in research and development, and we want to promote more and more R&D in India in terms of patent creation, in terms of right copyrights, industrial designs, or trademarks, etc., etc. Then it will also create a lot of jobs, employment generation. In fact, please remember this. Under Make in India initiative, we want to ensure that there will be 100 million jobs generated. 100 million jobs generated. And right, we want to promote overall contribution, overall production of goods and services contribution to GDP. And what are the targets under Make in India? And by the way, we have not been able to achieve these targets. The target year was actually 2022. We have not been able to achieve, but you don't worry, right? Please remember them. So first one, we wanted to ensure that contribution of manufacturing sector to GDP will increase, and the manufacturing sector will grow at an annual rate of around 12 to 14%. Has it happened? No, it has not happened. And again, reason are multiple, the domestic reasons as well as the global reasons. For both, because of both of them, we have not been able to achieve right the objectives as stated under Make in India. So first one, industrial growth rate target was 12 to 14% per annum. Second one was we wanted to create 100 million jobs under Make in India. And the third one, increase the contribution of manufacturing sector to the GDP from somewhere around 16 to 17% to 25%, to around 25%. Okay. Now, in order to achieve these targets, what kind of policies have been implemented by the government, both central government as well as state government? Point number one. In recent times, please do let me know, are you seeing lot of the reforms regarding labor law, labor reforms are being implemented by many states as well as central government? All of you okay with this? If you ask me, sir, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Couple of months ago, right, 1.5 month ago itself, some of the states such as Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, did they amend their labor laws? Those who have read, right, please answer me. And those who have not read, please start reading. Right, they have amended their labor laws. Why? They wanted to attract foreign companies such as Foxconn, such as certain mobile manufacturers. Argument is simple: by making it easier for the foreign companies, you will be attracting lot of investments. So labor reforms are being implemented both by the central government as well as state government. Right, state of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, etc., all these states are amending their labor laws. And please remember, when I say labor laws, please remember this particular idea: labor laws is a concurrent subject. Labor laws is a concurrent means what? Both the central government as well as state governments can frame laws on the subject. And that is a precise reason, in case of India, you will see central government also has certain labor laws, state governments also have certain labor laws. So state government and central government, they are changing their labor laws, amending the labor laws in order to make it easier for the companies. Second one, most of the sectors now are open under FDI. That is, under FDI, foreign companies can bring money, invest in most of the sectors in India. Third one, goods and services tax, ease of doing business. Right, so government is also implementing many of these reforms, such as reforming the indirect taxation structure in order to attract investments in India. Corporate tax rate has been reduced from 30% to 22%. And finally, many other reforms in order to promote ease of doing business in India. For example, single window clearance mechanism, single window clearance system, etc. So these are some of the policies or reforms. Again, please understand, these are some of them. Think of it. Can I say PLI will promote Make in India? Let me know. PLI will promote Make in India. What about DLI? Design linked incentives. Will it promote Make in India? So there are many initiatives. This is just a sample. This is just a illustration. There are multiple initiatives which will promote manufacturing in India. Now, what has been the achievement? What has been the achievement? Point number one, we have been able to attract a lot of foreign direct investment into India. India is one of the largest receiver of foreign direct investment. Second, right, because of these reforms, it has become very easy to conduct businesses in India. It has become very easy to promote manufacturing, right, investment, higher labor, etc. It has promoted ease of doing business in India. And in many of these individual sectors, we have been able to attract a lot of investment, right? Promoted the production rather than importing, we are exporting now. Can I give you one example? Mobile manufacturing. Think of it. One best example for this is mobile manufacturing. Rather than importing mobiles now, we are actually the exporter of mobiles. So can I say that is some of these individual sectors which are experiencing the benefit of right, the growth in the industrialization. Now, right, what are the concerns? What are the issues? What are the problems related to Make in India? Point number one, higher tariff on the imports of the product. The government in the last couple of years has implemented certain policies. Point number one, where they have increased the tariffs, taxes. Tariff is nothing but tax. Where they have increased the taxes on the products, right, raw materials, inputs which are needed to produce a good in India. Please think of it. Don't you think there is an argument? Many experts argue that government should not be increasing tariffs on these imports. Yes or no? Government should not be increasing the tariffs on these exports. I'll give a very simple idea. Many of you ask me, sir, why? Why should we not impose a tariff on these imports? Argument of certain experts is that if you want to promote competitiveness in the domestic market, you will have to reduce and abolish trade barriers. I will repeat the statement here. Please understand this. You will have to reduce and abolish trade barriers. Do not increase the trade barriers. Reduce and abolish trade barriers. Why? Imagine we are manufacturing this bottle in India. Can I say one way to promote competitiveness of domestic manufacturer is to allow free flow of imports, so that the domestic manufacturer either will have to pick up the game, will have to increase efficiency, compete with the import, or right, basically perish during the competition. Think of it. I'll repeat it again. Again, I hope you understand. Some of you will support this argument, some of you will not support it. That's the reason there are two sides. Always there are two sets of experts. Some experts argue that if you want to promote productivity, competitiveness of India, do not impose more trade barriers, remove trade barriers, so that imports will start flowing. Domestic manufacturer, in order to compete with the import, will increase efficiency, will increase competitiveness, will increase productivity, and in the process, it will benefit overall industries in India. All of you are okay with this? But another set of experts argue that no, we will not allow that to happen. We should not allow that to happen. What if the companies perish? What if domestic companies end up shutting down? Then we are dependent on the import. So I hope you understand. I hope you understand. There are two sides to argument. There are always two sides to argument. Right? Some experts say, do not make them much more inefficient, promote efficiency. And moreover, please think of it. Whenever you impose a trade barriers, don't you think some of the supply chains are very complicated? Think of it. Some of the supply chains are very, very complicated. You cannot develop those supply chains in a very short time period. Sir, what do you mean by this? I'll give the best example. Best example. Semiconductors. Semiconductors. Are you coming across the concept of semiconductors in recent times or not? Do you think it is very easy to promote production of semiconductors in India? Think of it. Do you think it is so easy? If it was so easy, governments have been trying it. It's not the first time. Governments have been trying it for many, many years now. Many governments have tried it. It's not that easy. Why? You need, right, a lot of complicated supply chain. It's a very complicated supply chain initiative. So lot of issues will be affecting whether we are able to promote semiconductor production in India. And that's the reason, if you're reading newspapers, one very large company, Micron, they wanted to invest in India in one of the state. They cancelled it there. They have shifted to one more state. They want to invest in another state now. Why? It's very complicated. These are very complicated supply chains. Now think of this even in case of laptops. This was the argument of some of the experts. Promotion of manufacture of laptops, which requires a lot of semiconductors, by the way, which requires a lot of semiconductors, PCs, laptops, etc. Right? For that, you have a trade barrier now. You have given a time period of 3 months. Do you think within that 3 months you'll be able to develop the whole complicated supply chain for manufacturing a laptop? Think of it. We want to do what many countries take years to develop in 3 months. That is the criticism. That is the concern regarding these kind of policies. And please think of it. If government will keep on changing the policies like this, will it not affect investor confidence in India? Will it affect this or not? So if government will keep on changing policies like this, on one side you will say make in India, produce in India, etc., etc. But you are importing certain raw material, you are importing certain input. Now suddenly government will impose a trade barrier. Will it affect investment confidence? Of course, yes. It will have a huge impact on investor confidence in India. So I hope you understand the argument. Again, please do not start criticizing me. Do not take only one side of the argument. Have both the sides of the argument, and based on whatever question they ask, based on that you write the answer. So I've told you, yes, right, by imposing trade barriers you are protecting domestic manufacturing. That is the reason you are imposing these trade barriers. But when you impose the trade barriers, are you not basically ensuring that these companies will not compete with the international companies? Are you not basically ensuring that they will not be much more focused on their efficiency? That is the counter argument. So I hope you understand both the sides of the argument are equally important. And whatever is asked in UPSC, based on that, you write the answer. Okay. Now, higher tariff on imports, that is also a problem. What about unemployment rate in India? Right? Don't you think in the last couple of years, in fact, this year, unemployment rate has crossed more than 7% in India? That is a concern. Unemployment rate has remained higher in case of India. That's a concern for India. Industrial growth rate, we wanted to achieve 10 to 12% annually. Sorry, 12 to 14% annually like this. We have not been able to achieve that. Too many sectors, right? And because 27 sectors are covered, many experts argue that government will not have sufficient resources to focus on all the 27 sectors, right? They should have covered lesser sectors so that they should have focused on these only few sectors. And finally, what about external sector? What happens in USA? What happens in UK? What happens in Germany? Will it have an impact on India's exports? Will it have an impact on Indian imports? What happens between Russia and Ukraine? Will it have an impact on India as a trade? All these are very important factors. So these are some of the issues or concerns regarding the concept of Make in India. Done? Can we go forward now? Any problem with Make in India? Let me know. Right? Any problem with Make in India? So third point in the concerns, my dear, industrial growth rate, we wanted to achieve 12 to 14%. We have not been able to achieve that. Please keep on reading newspapers. You will only get the idea. In some of the months, industrial production, right, that is IIP, will grow by 10%. In some months, it will go by 3%. In some months, a negative contraction has been experienced, etc., etc. Okay. Can we go forward now? Or Baba, sir, intellectual property. My dear, last week, did I show you a table? Think of it. Last week, that's the reason you'll have to keep on revising, my dear. Last week, did I show you a table of research and development investment in India? That's the reason you'll have to focus. You'll have to keep on revising. How much is the research and development in case of India? India, right? The expenditure is less than 1%, whereas in other countries it is more than this, etc. That is the reason number of patents created there are very high. In India, patent creation is very less. In fact, I've shown you all of this. In fact, I've shown all of this. Please revise. Okay. Next. Next one is Startup India. Okay, next one is Startup India, right? Concept of Startup India, right? Slightly technical. Follow this very carefully. Follow this very carefully. First one, what is the definition of a startup which are recognized by Government of India? I repeat, what do you mean by a startup which is recognized by Government of India? The startup which is recognized by Government of India will have to satisfy three conditions. Three conditions. One, It has to be registered. So registration where? It has to be registered under Companies Act. It has to be registered either under Companies Act or Partnership Act or Limited Liability Partnership Act. Please remember this. It has to be registered either under Companies Act or Partnership Act or Limited Liability Partnership Act. There are three acts in case of India. Please remember this. You will have to be registered under one of the three acts. Companies Act of 2013, Partnership Act of 1932, or Limited Liability Partnership Act of 2008. Point number one. Point number two, from the date of registration, from the date of incorporation. Incorporation means from which date you actually established a company. From the date of registration, the company should not be more than 10 years old. The company should not be more than 10 years old. For example, let me know, if you incorporate a company in 2000, right, let's say 12. Imagine you started a company in 2012. Is it more than 10 years old? Let me know. Is it more than 10 years old? Yes or no? Very simple calculation, by the way. If you incorporate a company in 2020, now is it more than 10 years old? No. So point number one, right? It is 10 year, more than 10 year old. Point number two, it is less than 10-year old. So second point, have a look at this. The years from the date of incorporation should not be more than 10 years. Point number three, from the date of incorporation, every year, in each of the year, the revenue, the turnover is nothing but revenue. The revenue should not have crossed more than 100 crore rupees. Very simple. The revenue or the turnover should not have crossed more than 100 crore rupees. So if Government of India wants you to recognize as a startup, if Government of India has to recognize a company as a startup, they will have to satisfy three conditions. All the three have to be satisfied. First one, you should be registered under one of the three laws of Government of India. Second one, from the date of incorporation, your company should not be more than 10 years old. And the third one, every year or in each of the year, your revenue should not have crossed more than 100 crore rupees. Right? So this is basically the definition, legal definition of a startup. Now, why do you need to promote Startup India? Why? What is the need to promote Startup India initiative? Point number one, as usual, investment will be promoted. Second one, employment will be generated. Third one, these startups are new age enterprises, new age business. New age business means what? These are not focused on traditional areas. These are not focused on traditional areas. These are focused on new businesses. For example, online education services, right? Online food delivery services, drone technology, etc. These are new age enterprises. These are not focused on traditional areas such as, let's say, steel manufacturing, aluminum manufacturing. These are traditional businesses. So we are focused on new age businesses, new kind of a business now. And because these are focused on new age businesses, they will also invest a lot of money on research and development. They'll create a lot of patents. They'll create a lot of copyrights, industrial designs, etc., etc. So these are some of the reasons why there is a need to promote, right, the startups in India. Now, what are the provisions under Startup India initiative? What are the provisions? Let's go one by one. Point number one, if you are recognized as a startup by the government, I repeat, if you are recognized as a startup by the government, then for 3 consecutive years, 100% tax exemption is provided to you. I will repeat the statement here. Point number one, I'm talking about provisions. Point number one, if you're recognized as a startup, then Government of India will provide you a relaxation. How? For 3 consecutive years, within 10 years, for 3 consecutive years, 100% tax exemption will be given to you. What do you mean by 100% tax exemption? Imagine you started a startup, you launched a startup. whatever profits you earn in 10 years, in 3 consecutive years, you do not have to pay any taxes on the profits. You do not have to pay any taxes on the profits. That is the first one. Income tax exemption is provided. Second one, IP applications are fast tracked. Fast tracked means they are right fast. They are cleared much faster compared to others. Sir, what do you mean by IP application? Imagine you apply for a patent, right? Imagine you apply for a patent. There is a particular process. Process is not important. There is a particular process that is supposed to be followed. Point number one, when you apply for a patent, you'll have to pay certain charges. All of you okay with this? When you apply for a patent, you'll have to pay certain charges. Government says, I will give you the charges back. You whatever charges you are paying, I will reimburse. I will give the charges back. And point number two, there is a very lengthy process that is followed in order to provide patents in India. Remember this. Right, next year when you read economic survey, I'm pretty sure there will be a topic on intellectual property rights. Please read that. Every year they are giving it. Next year also they will give it. Now please think of it and let me know. When I say you will have to follow a particular process to get intellectual property right, that is a patent in your name. Imagine you file a patent and number of right, let's say officials who are supposed to look into the patent application, the number of officials is lower compared to number of applications. Please tell me what will happen to the time taken for giving patent to you. Think of it. You will file patents and number of officials who are there, right? There's a process, you don't worry about it. Simple logic. The number of officials who are there to look into the right, let's say applications, right, check the applications whether your patent is earlier registered or not, etc. Number of officials are comparatively lesser. Can I say as a result of this, the time taken to provide patents will be very long? It's a fact in India. It's very simply a fact in India. The time taken for providing patents is very, very long in India. So government of India on one side says, we are going to right speed up the process of giving patents. I'll repeat the statement. The government right has announced that we will speed up the process. We will simply try to ensure that you will get the patents very soon. But the infrastructure to speed up has not been developed, has not improved at the same rate. That is a precise reason. Even today, the time taken for patents, the time that is taken for giving patents in case of India is very, very high. The time taken for patents or giving allocation of the patents is very high in India. So, point number one, basically 3-year tax exemption. Second one, IP application will be fast tracked. Third one, self certification. What do you mean by self certification here? Imagine you started a company. Okay, you started a company, you've hired a lot of people, you're producing goods. Now, there are certain laws that you're supposed to follow. You're supposed to take care of your labor. You're supposed to provide, let's say, water services, right? You're supposed to provide, certain other, right, additional services to labor. You're supposed to maintain register of the entry, etc., etc. Generally, what government says is, I will appoint certain officials who will go to the industries and they will do the inspections. Very simple. They'll go to the industries and they will do the inspections. All of you okay with inspections here? Anybody has a doubt, sir, why inspection need to be conducted? Right? What is the reason? Then I'll simply ask you to watch Guns and Gulabs. Right? Again, not recommended for UPSC, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already seen that particular web series. If you have seen it, good. If you have not seen it, is it required for UPSC? Absolutely no. Right? And then you'll understand what you mean by inspection. So government has certain guidelines, the measures have to be followed by all the manufacturers. Now, how does government ensure that you will abide by all these provisions? Right? How? They will send inspection team. Now think of it. If the inspection team comes to the startups, can there be harassment of the owners? I'm not saying it will definitely happen. I'm saying, can there be? Can there be harassment by the officials for these startups enterprises? Of course, yes. Officials will harass them. Right? Many cases it has happened. There is right a probability. I'm not saying guaranteed. There is a probability of harassment of the taxpayer, harassment of the companies. Now, right, that is the reason what Government of India says is, I will not send any inspection. I will not send any team for inspecting, right, the startups. What they have to do is, they will have to give me a self declaration. Simple. All they have to do is, they will have to give me a declaration saying that whatever laws are applicable to them, they are following them. And because they are giving me a self declaration, I will not be sending any inspection team to these startups. All of you okay with this? This is called as self certification. This is called as a self certification. All of you okay? Can I go forward now? Next one is a fund of funds. Next one is a fund of funds. Now, what is this fund of funds? Let me explain. Let me explain this. What is this fund of funds? Central government, imagine this. Imagine central government will invest in a startup. Central government will invest in a startup, have certain ownership in the startup. How many of you would prefer this kind of a funding pattern by the central government? Think of it. Central government, right, has funds. They want to invest in startups because startups also require money. Central government will invest and have certain ownership in the startups. If you are launching a startup, would you want this kind of a ownership structure? Please do let me know. Answer should be no. Point number one, central government's duty is not to own startups. They should provide funding. Central government should provide funding, but not have ownership in the startups. That is not how central government should operate. That is a precise reason. What central government has done is, central government has created a fund. They have created a startup fund. And this fund is called as a fund of fund. Why this is called a fund of fund, you will understand. Just give me a minute. Now, what they will do is, from a fund of funds, they will take money and give it to financial institutions. Financial institutions. Sir, what kind of financial institution? There is a financial institution by the name of alternate investment funds. I'll come to this, just give me a minute. Alternate investment funds. Alternate investment funds, AIFs. And these alternate investment funds, they will invest in the startups. They will invest in the startups. Now, please look at this structure and tell me, do you think central government is having ownership in the startups in this structure? I'm talking about this one, by the way. If you ask me, sir, which structure you're talking about? I'm talking about this. Do you think central government is investing and owning startups? No, they are not owning. And moreover, think of this. Please think of it. Rather than central government making an investment, don't you think private sector institutions are better suited to make investments in startups? Yes or no? Private sector institutions, they are better equipped. They have better experts. Government duty is not that. That is the reason this model is followed by the government. That is the reason this kind of a model is followed by the government. Right? This is called as a fund of funds. This is referred to as a fund of funds. Now, coming to the point, sir, what is this alternative investment funds? All of you remember the concept of mutual funds? Let me see. All of you do remember the concept of mutual funds. What is the model of mutual funds? Right? There's an expert who will pool in money and invest in the market. That is simply mutual funds. It's a pooled of money, pooled investment. Apply the same logic, but only for rich investors. Institutions, apply the same logic, but for very rich investors, institutions, governments. This is called as alternative investment funds. All of you okay with the logic? All of you okay? Please do let me know. Right? Logic is very simple. Pooled investments. AIFs are also pooled investments. But is it available to you and me? Of course, no. It is not available to a common man. Aam Aadmi, no, it is not available. It is available only for high net worth individuals. It is available for rich investors. For example, you want to invest in alternative investment funds. Your salary should be more than 50 lakh rupees. Your salary should be more than 50 lakh rupees. But on the other side, think of it and do let me know. Mutual funds, right? Your salary is a parameter to invest in mutual funds. Think of it, right? You will approach mutual fund, the company, they'll say, give me your salary slip. Show me how much salary you are earning. No, right? So I hope you understand. It's a similar model to mutual funds. It's a similar model, but only difference is mutual funds is available to everyone. It is open for everyone. Anybody can invest in mutual funds. Whereas in case of alternate investment funds, only the rich investors, high net worth individuals, venture capitalists, etc., they are allowed to invest in alternate investment funds. All of you okay with this? Please do let me know. All of you okay? Right? So fund of funds has been created where government will not invest directly. Government will give funds to an AIF. AIF will invest in the market. AIF will invest in the startups. And because please understand the logic here. I'm slightly entering into technicalities because this is a fund which will derive fund from another fund. Think of it. This is a type of a fund, AIF. All of you okay? AIF is a type of fund. But the AIF is getting money from another fund. Can I call this fund of funds? Let me see. Think of it. AIF is a fund. And this fund is receiving money from another fund. Can I call this as a fund of funds? In fact, right? In fact, if I use a technical terms, I don't think so UPSC will use this. Can I write this fund of fund as a mother fund and daughter fund? Can I call this fund of fund as a mother fund and AIF as a daughter fund in this context? In this context, that's very important. AIF, can I call this as a daughter fund and fund of funds as a mother fund? This is basically the argument, right? We are going to create a mother fund, and right, money from this mother fund will be given to a daughter fund, that is AIF, which will invest in startups. Right, this is one more very important provision, that is fund of funds. Again, if you're not able to understand what is a daughter fund, mother fund, for UPSC that is not at all needed. If you're an investor, only then that is required. Next one, faster exit policy. 90 days exit policy has been announced for startups. I repeat, 90 days exit policy has been announced for startups. What do you mean by 90 days exit policy? Think of it. When you want to exit the business, you will have to follow a certain process. For a lot of you, closing the business means you will simply lock the gate. According to you, locking the gate means closing business. No, my dear. Can I say closure, exit from the business means you'll have to, right, apply for deregistering your company. Yes or no? You'll have to apply, give an application to deregister your company, because you applied for registration, you have to apply for deregistration. Second, you owe certain amount of money to Government of India. You'll have to clear all the dues for Government of India. You applied for getting electricity connection. You'll have to cancel the electricity connection. You applied for water connection. You'll have to cancel for water connection. So when you say exiting the business, when you say closure of the business, you'll have to follow a certain process. Government of India says, now for the startups, I will provide a policy of 90 days exit. Within 90 days, I will help them exit from the business. Faster exit mechanism also has been implemented. Okay. Lastly, public procurement. Government of India has a public procurement norm. Correct? Yes or no? Right? Friday. Government of India has a policy for public procurement. So government says, whenever I'm going for a public procurement, I will give certain relaxations I will also consider the startups in the public procurement norm. Right, so these are certain very important provisions of Startup India. Please remember them. Please remember them. Now, what has been the achievement? What has been the achievement of Startup India initiative? One, India houses one of the largest startup ecosystems in the global market. That is, the number of startups in India are very, very high. How many you don't remember? From 1 year to next year, numbers will keep on changing. It houses one of the largest startup ecosystem. Usually they will give the ranking. They'll say India is the third largest startup ecosystem, second largest startup ecosystem, like this. Second, we have been able to attract a lot of investment under startups. We have attracted lot of investments under startups. Third one, number of patent applications in case of India in the last couple of years, number of applications have increased. Right, so these are certain achievements of Startup India. Then what are the concerns? What are the issues related to Startup India? What are the issues? Point number one, lot of startups are set up doesn't mean they will have a model through which they can generate revenues in the economy. I will repeat the statement. Understand this very carefully. You will have lot of startups which are set up right day in and day out in India. But doesn't mean all these startups will have a revenue model which is sustainable for them. Because remember this very carefully, whenever you start any company, initial investment will be very, very high. Revenues will come very slowly. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Whenever you start any company, initially you will have to invest a lot of money. Revenues will come very slowly. And that is a precise reason many of the startups, one, they will not be able to sustain competition with other companies. Second, they are spending lot of money. They're spending lot of money, right? They are not able to earn revenues. At the same point of time, they are not able to raise funding as well. Have you come across the term funding winter? Let me know. In recent times, have you come across the term funding winter? Yes or no? Those who have read newspapers, they will know this. Startups are finding it very difficult to raise money, very difficult to raise funds from the market, especially this year. Especially this year, funding has dried out. So on one side, you're a startup, means what? Your expenses are very high. And because you're a startup, your revenues are not very large. You'll get the revenue, but not immediately. Over a period of time, you'll start generating revenue. And on the other hand, you're not able to generate funds also. You're not able to raise funds in the market. And fourth, in many cases it has happened. Startups have invested money in research and development. They have created a product. But they are not able to create a product which is cost effective, which can be acceptable to the market. Right? They will use a term scalability problem. Are you able to understand this? They will use the term scalability issue. Scalability issue means what? Imagine I'm a startup. I invested a lot of money. I created a product. But don't you think the product is important, and equally important is what is the price of the product? What if I don't create a product which is price effective, which is a lesser pricey in the market? What if the price is very, very high? I will not be able to compete in the market. So that is the reason scalability is becoming a problem for a lot of these startups. They have products, but a price conscious market such as India, I repeat, a price conscious market such as India, if you do not have the right pricing, you'll not be able to scale the product. You'll not be able to get customers for this. So funding issues. Very few startups are getting benefit of these, all these reforms because of external and internal factors. And time for patents in India, even today, it is very, very high. So these are some of the issues, some of the concerns regarding the Startup India initiative. Okay, done? Any problem here? Right, so these are the two very important initiatives. Right, can we go forward? Sir, why only high net worth individuals can invest in AIF? My dear, that's a model. That's a model that has been created. Otherwise, then there is no difference between a mutual fund, and an alternative investment fund. Even in case of AIF, if everybody was allowed to invest, then what is the difference between an AIF and a mutual fund? Think of it. Then what is the difference? No difference. That is the reason in case of AIFs, there are three categories: category 1, category 2, category 3, etc. etc. Right? There are different types of investors who are allowed in AIF and mutual funds. Okay, done. Right, this we have discussed last week. Please have a look at it. Okay, right. So India's research and development, how much money we are investing compared to other countries, right? How much money in India? What has happened to the investment? Right, how much percentage will come from the government? How much percentage from private sector? Please have a look at all of them. You will have to read all this. You have to read all of this. In books, they will not give you this, but in current affairs, you'll come across all of this. Done. So these are certain very important points regarding the concept of industries and the policies and the latest current affairs regarding industries. Anybody has any kind of a doubt, please let me know. Otherwise, we can take a break. Right? I'll address your questions, then we can take a break. Questions are there. We'll solve the questions today. Huh. What is CCI? Competition Commission of India. It is a statutory body. Competition Commission of India will basically try to address any policies of the government. I'm sorry, any policy of the private sector, not the government. Any policies or any activities of the private sector which are going to hurt the customers. Self certification. There are certain laws that you're supposed to follow. You do not have to be worried about inspection. You can self declare. You can self declare to the government saying that you're following all the laws. What is full form of ICI? Index of 8 core industry. It is there in the slide only. Sir, what do they put in patents? What do they put means what? I don't understand the question. What is funding winter? The funds which are going to the startups have dried out, have slowed down. That is the reason this is called as funding winter. What is Udyam portal? Again, please read, Baba. Go to the Udyam portal. Everything is there only. Right? I cannot discuss everything about Indian economy in the classroom. You will have to do certain reading by yourself. Okay. Okay, done. So let's take a break then. 7:53. Okay, I'll start at 8:05. I'll start at 8:05. Take a break. I'll restart at 8:05. Okay, welcome back. Am I audible? Please do let me know. Audible or not audible? Okay, done. So questions are there. We'll take up the questions later. Don't worry. Let me start with the next one. The next chapter that we'll be discussing will be the concept of infrastructure, industry, investment models, and infrastructure. Okay. Questions are there. We'll take up the questions. Don't worry. Agriculture questions have left out. Mains questions and industries. We'll discuss both together. Now, let me start with investment models. Right. What are the investment models we'll be discussing? We'll start with the FDI. Many of you have been asking what is the FDI, how FDI will be allowed, what is automatic route, etc. Now we'll discuss. Listen carefully. Okay. FDI, FPI, SEZ, NIMZ, and PPP. All the long forms are there in respective slides. You don't worry. Listen. Now let's start. What is FDI? What is FPI? FDI is any investment that is done by a foreign company in creating assets in India. I'll repeat the statement. Right? FDI simply stands for any foreign company creating assets in India, that is called as FDI. For example, listen to this very carefully. A foreign company will bring money into India and let's say set up a manufacturing facility. Set up a manufacturing facility. Can I call this as FDI? Please let me know. Can I call this as FDI? A foreign company will bring money and set up airline company in India. Set up an airline company in India. Right? For example, Akasa. Right? I hope you are reading newspapers. Akasa has completed 1 year now. In Akasa, foreign investment is there. Right? What about Volkswagen company? Foreign investment is there. Right? Apple company, if they invest in India, all of that is basically FDI. So whenever a foreign company, right, whenever a foreign company will bring investment in India, create assets like this is called as FDI. On the other side, if foreign investors, I repeat, if foreign investors will bring money in India, invest in stock market, invest in share market, that is called as foreign portfolio investment. Anybody has difficulty in understanding the difference here? Sir, what is the long form? Long form is given here. FDI stands for foreign direct investment, FPI stands for foreign portfolio investment. FDI, please understand, they will invest and create assets in India, roads, manufacturing facilities, aeroplanes, etc. That is FDI. Whereas FPI, they will invest in shares, they will invest in bonds, etc. So can I call FDI will create physical assets, whereas FPI will create financial assets? Let me know. FDI will invest in physical assets. FPI will invest in financial assets, shares, bonds. These are financial assets. FDI will enter into a country to stay for a longer duration. They will not come today. They will not go tomorrow. They will enter into India for longer duration. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. As long as they can earn profit, they will remain in India. Whereas FPI, comparatively very short duration. The foreign investments can come under FPI today and they can take it out next week itself. They can take it out next month itself. They can take it out after 2 months. So FPI will invest in a country for a very shorter duration, comparatively very short duration. That is the reason FPI is also referred to as hot money. Please remember, that is the reason why FPI is also referred to as hot money. They'll keep on moving from one country to another country. Hot money. Right? So it is associated with multiplier effect. FDI is associated with multiplier effect. Whereas FPI will basically increase the amount of money that is available in the market. How much money is there in the bond market? It will increase. How much money is there in the stock market? It will increase. That's the role of FPI. Investments are done in order to earn profit. Investments are speculative in nature. They want to purchase the shares at a lower price. They want to sell it at higher price. Again, please understand, speculation means movement of market. They also want to earn profit. Many of you simply say, sir, FPS, they don't want to earn profit. Of course, yes, they also want to earn profit. But can I simply say they are betting? their profit, they are basically betting on market behavior. They will purchase it at a lower price, they will sell it at a higher price. Yes or no? Or in case of Hindenburg, right? Have you heard of company Hindenburg? They want to purchase it at a higher price, they want to sell it at a lower price. So I hope you understand the argument. Speculation means how the market behaves. They want to, right, bet on the speculative behavior of the market, right? So it is very difficult to attract FDI. Comparatively very easy to attract FPI, right? FPI can come into India at any point of time, they can move out of India at any point of time. Whereas FDI, imagine you're a foreign investor. Look at current affairs example, you will understand. You're a foreign investor. In order to attract you, government has to reduce corporate taxes. Government has to change labor laws. Government has to make it easier for you to acquire land, etc., etc. So don't you think FDI, it is very difficult to attract FDI compared to FPI? Right? That is a basic difference. Please remember the differences between both FDI and FPI. Now, there is a committee recommendation. Please remember Arvind Mayram committee. Okay, Arvind Mayram committee. Whenever a foreign company will invest in purchasing equity in a company, that is, if it is a listed company, if the foreign company will purchase up to 10%, up to means what? Less than 10%, then we'll classify this as a EFPI. And if the foreign company will invest in a listed company and purchase a 10% or more than 10%, we'll call this as EFTI. All of you okay with this definition? Please do let me know. Let me know, right? I'll repeat it again. Arvind Mayram committee has given a very clear distinction between what is FDI, what is FPI. Because please understand, there could be certain concerns regarding the distinction, because the regulations for both FDI are different, regulations for FPI are different. You'll understand in some time. Have patience. Have patience. Okay. Many of us say, sir, what is FII, etc. My dear, have patience. We'll compare all of that. Have patience. So in a listed company, if a foreign company will bring money and purchase a less than 10%, we'll classify this as FPI. If it is a 10% or more than 10%, we'll classify this as FDI. Whereas in case of unlisted company, any amount of investment in equity will simply classify this as FDI. Now, some of you, as expected, some of you, right, have started typing, why not FPI in case of unlisted company? My dear, please tell me, point number one, where does FPI invest? In the stock market. And if I say it is an unlisted company, are the shares of this company available in the stock market? Think of it and do let me know. Many of you are asking, sir, why not FPI classification unlisted? Unlisted means these shares are not available in the stock market. Hence, FPIs cannot invest in the stock market in unlisted company. That is the reason any investment in unlisted company by a foreign company will be classified as FPI. Remember the definition, UPSC can ask you this definition. Now, let me enter into the details. We'll take up FDI separately, FPI separately. Point number one. What is the definition of FDI? Investment done by a foreign company in purchasing or creating physical assets in companies in India. Right? We'll talk from the context of India. They will create assets or they will enter into ownership. Sir, what do you mean by this? Let me give you simple examples. Listen to me very carefully. Imagine, imagine a foreign company will come to India, set up a company which is 100% owned by a foreign company. Let me know. Imagine a foreign company will come into India and they will set up their own company, 100% owned. That is one possibility. Second, they will set up a company, they'll simply set up an office in India, and whatever expenditures required, all the expenditures will be provided by a foreign company. I'll repeat the examples. Listen to me very carefully. First one, they will come to India, set up a company, create a new company in India, create a new company. 100% of the company is owned by a foreign company. Second one, they'll come to India, Rather than setting up a new company, they'll simply open an office in India. Is it okay? They'll simply open an office. Whatever money is required to operate office will be provided by the foreign company. Third, they'll come to India and enter into a joint venture with Indian company. They'll enter into a joint venture. Joint venture means what? Some of the ownership will be with Indian company, remaining with a foreign company. Let's say 26% with Indian company, 74% with foreign company, or 26% with foreign company, remaining with Indian company. Or what about 49%? 49% will be owned by foreign company, 51% by Indian company, or vice versa. Can I say all these are basically the forms of FDI investment in India? Let me know. Can I say all these are basically the forms of FDI investments in India? That is, foreign companies are investing in India. That's it. Now, how they are allowed to come into India? How they are allowed to come into India? Are there any restrictions? Are there any conditions? Remember, there are two ways FDI can come into India. Two ways. One is called as a direct route or automatic route. Second one is called as approval route or government route. What is the basic idea? Point number one, please remember this carefully. FDI, whether it is allowed in the sector or not allowed, it is decided by Government of India. Very simple. FDI, whether it is allowed or not allowed, who will decide it? Government of India. Point number two, if it is allowed, how much is allowed? Whether 49% is allowed, 26% is allowed, 100% is allowed. To how much percentage it is allowed, government will decide it again. Point number three. Point number three, government under security reasons. I repeat it, government under security reasons can also have specific type of a FDI restriction. For example, right now, please remember this. Right now, Government of India says any FDI that will flow from India's neighboring countries. I repeat, any investment that will flow from India's neighboring countries, it has to go through government route only. I'll repeat the statement. Please listen to me carefully. Any investment that is coming from India's neighboring countries, it has to go through government route only. Now, question is, what do you mean by government route? Simple. Government route means before you invest in India, you will have to take the permission from the government. You will have to take approval from the government. For example, imagine a Chinese company. All of you will agree when I say China is India's neighboring country. Anybody says no, China is not India's neighboring country, please do let me know. If a Chinese company wants to invest in India, whether they are investing in sector A, B, C, D, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They will have to go to the government, apply for approval from the government, and the government will give the approval. Then they will be allowed to invest in India. But on the other side, imagine government will say this sector automatic route is allowed. This sector, right, the approvals are not required. What do you mean by this? If a particular sector, it is under the automatic route, it simply means you do not take any approvals. You do not require any kind of approvals. You can directly bring the money in India and invest in India. But the condition is very simple here. Once you bring in the investment and you invest after 30 days or in the next 30 days, you'll have to give the information to RBI. You'll have to tell RBI how many dollars you have brought in India and you have invested in India. So one is called as a direct route. No approvals are required. Simply invest in the sector. And second one is approval route. You will have to take the permission of the government. Now, under the approval route, again there are two, right? Again there are two. One is up to 5,000 crore rupees, up to 5,000 crore, and above 5,000 crore rupees. Now, if you are investing up to 5,000 crore rupees, your FDI investment is up to 5,000 crore, there is a mechanism that has been set for you. Foreign Investment Facilitation Portal, FIFP, Foreign Investment Facilitation Portal. All the ministries are part of this portal. You will have to apply for licensing approval on the portal if your investment is up to 5,000 crore. And if your investment is above 5,000 crore, then the approvals will be issued by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. By Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Done? All of you okay with direct route and approval route? Sir, any example of a direct route? Civil aviation. Civil aviation is a direct route, and any country, neighboring country, any investment that comes from the neighboring country, it is approval route. Where is FDI allowed? These are some of the sectors. These are some of the sectors where FDI is prohibited, right? Because understand this, based on national security, based on right, let's say the data privacy, based on whether these are dealing with the people's money, right? Some of the sectors we do not allow FDI. Now, do not worry about all of this. Simply remember the examples. Don't enter into why gaming it is not allowed, why that is allowed, why this is not allowed, etc., etc. Don't worry about it. Simple logical argument. Done. Right, so this is a direct route and this is approval route. Now, what are the advantages of FDI? What are the benefits? Point number one, whenever FDI will flow into India, you'll be able to attract a lot of investment. That is okay with all of you? You will be able to attract a lot of investment. Point number two is it will bring lot of resources. It will bring lot of resources, right? Managerial resources, financial resources, technological resources into India. It will promote competition in India. I'll give a very simple example. Tell me whether it makes sense to you or not. Flipkart versus Amazon. Of course, please understand. Today, Flipkart is also FDI only. Today, Flipkart is owned by foreign company. But earlier, Flipkart versus Amazon, or else another example, Uber versus Ola. Please tell me, is the second point okay with all of you? Look at the examples and do let me know. Right? FDI will promote competition. All of you okay with this? Third one, it will improve the balance of trade. Let me take the example of Apple. Apple has invested in India. It is manufacturing mobile phones in India, which means rather than importing these mobile phones, we are producing and we are exporting these mobile phones. Is it improving balance of trade or not? Is it improving balance of trade or not? Of course, yes. Next one, it will generate lot of employment opportunities, and that's a fact. Companies coming in India will create lot of jobs. And right, the fifth one is it will increase the market size of India, and it will lead to integration of Indian market with the global market. So please do let me know all of you are okay with the merits of FDI. Let me know. Again, nothing is new in this. Nothing is new, right? Everything is whatever we have discussed earlier. Anybody has a problem, please do let me know. Anybody has a problem? Can I go forward here? Can I go forward? Okay, thanks. What are the concerns? What are the demerits? What are the demerits? Government has to change their policies in order to attract FDI. Right, sir, how can this be a demerit? I'll give a very simple current affairs example. 10 days ago, I'd asked you to read that article. In fact, I'd given you that article as well. Government, in order to attract FDI, has reduced corporate tax rate. Has it affected Government of India's tax revenues? Let me know. Has it affected Government of India's tax revenues? Can I call it as a demerit? Can I call it as a demerit? Right, because government has to change their policies in order to attract foreign investors. Hence, it might affect government revenues. Second, may promote unhealthy competition. Sir, what do you mean by unhealthy competition? In case of the companies such as Amazon, there is an allegation. What is the allegation? Amazon company sells the product at a very high discounts, which is called as a deep discount. Correct? It sells the products at a very, very high discounts, which is called as a deep discounting. Now, do you think this bottle sold by Amazon, the bottle sold by traditional shops, do you think the traditional shops will be able to compete with Amazon? Think of it. Do you think the traditional shops will be able to compete with Amazon? No, they are not able to compete. So can I say on one side, there can be competition between Flipkart and Amazon, but on the other side, because of these types of companies, the traditional shops are incurring losses. Traditional shops are closing down because they are not able to compete. So may promote unhealthy competition. Third one, may lead to regional disparities. In case of India, please remember this. FDI we are attracting, but FDI is not entering into all the states. They are preferring some of the states. They prefer states such as Gujarat, Maharashtra, states such as right Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Why? These are already having lot of infrastructure. Very simple. These states already have very good infrastructure. Right? Government promotes ease of doing business. So as a result of this, a lot of FDI that is flowing into India enters into these states. Now tell me, if a lot of FDI will enter into these states, don't you think the states inequality, regional inequality which is already present, will it become more wider or not? The regional disparities will further start increasing. Right? And finally, the companies might be involved in tax avoidance, tax evasion by using transfer pricing methodology, and that will further affect the revenues of government of India. Right? So these are some of the concerns or the demerits regarding foreign direct investment. All of you okay with this? All of you okay? Sir, where have we discussed transfer pricing? My dear, please open taxation chapter. Please open the taxation chapter. Companies are involved in tax evasion as well as a tax avoidance. That will affect the earnings of the government of India. Okay. Next, can we go forward? Sir, one thing not understood, FDI decreases trade deficit, then how it will promote it? My dear, listen, no, listen carefully. If the trade balance is improved, doesn't mean that domestic market traditional shops will be benefited. If I'm running a shop where I'm selling this bottle, I will not be able to give you a discount given by Amazon company. And if I don't give you discount, you will not purchase it from me. So my revenues will go down. I will have to shut down my shop. So both the concepts are different. You are bringing unnecessarily two different concepts and merging them. Now, what are the other important points regarding FDI? India is one of the country with huge inflow of FDI. We receive lot of FDI. Generally, we are topped. We are in the top 10 countries in terms of receiving FDI. Post 2000, the services sector has attracted largest FDI in India. Which countries contribute to a very great extent to inflow of FDI in India? USA, Singapore, Mauritius. From these countries, we attract a lot of foreign direct investment. Okay. Now, another very important concept, depository receipt. This is there in the newspapers now. Listen to me very carefully. Another very important concept I want to discuss is the idea of a depository receipt. Now, what is a depository receipt? Let me explain to you. Please listen to me very carefully. Listen to me very carefully. Right? Imagine foreign company. Let's say a company such as a Tesla wants to get listed in India. By the way, all of you know that Tesla is not listed in India. Correct? All of you know that, right? Tesla company is not listed in India. Right? Apple is not listed in India. So imagine they want to list their company in India. How they can do that? There is a concept called as a depository receipt. There is an idea called as a depository receipt. What happens in a depository receipt? Let's say, right? Let's say I'm sitting in USA. You are in India. I'm sitting in USA. Tesla company. I will take the shares of Tesla company, approach a bank, financial institutions, bank. These are called as custodian banks. Listen to me very carefully. I will take the shares of Tesla company, approach a custodian bank in USA, and I will deposit these Tesla shares to the custodian bank. Let's start. Right? This is USA. This is India. So Tesla company will approach a custodian bank here, will submit shares of Tesla company. Now this bank has an agreement with another custodian bank in India. Custodian bank in India. Now this custodian bank, which is there in India, will issue depository receipts in the name of Tesla company in India. I will repeat the process here. Listen to me carefully. Stop typing. Listen first. I'm Tesla company. I want to list my securities in Indian market. How is that possible? I will take the shares of Tesla company. Tesla is already listed in USA. I will take the shares, approach a custodian institute here, deposit the shares. Now this custodian institute has an agreement with another custodian bank in India. Now this custodian bank will issue depository receipts of Tesla shares. Now imagine you will purchase these deposit receipts of a Tesla company. Is it as good as investing in listed shares of Tesla company? Let me know. Is it as good as investing in a Tesla shares of this company? All of you okay? And can I also say, think of it, can I also say the depository receipt represents, right, basically the listed shares or publicly traded shares of Tesla company. Let me know. The depository receipts also represent the publicly traded shares of Tesla company. All of you are okay with this process? All of you okay with this process? Sir, what is a custodian bank? My dear, anybody who will keep the custody of your shares are called as custodian banks. Have you heard of the term custodian or not? Let me know. Have you heard of the term custodian? Custodian is anybody who is your guardian. Right? For example, when your kids, right, when somebody has to write sign documents related to you, they'll say custodian. Custodian means anybody who is holding them, right? Anybody who is taking care of it, guarding them. That is called as custodian. Right? So I hope you understand the concept here. Concept is very simple. Right? USA, which is already listed, it is already listed. They want to issue the shares, right? They want to get listed in India. So this is the process they will follow, right? And these instruments which are issued in India, these are called as depository receipt. Can we do the vice versa now? Can we do the vice versa? For example, Infosys. Imagine this is India and this is USA. Imagine Infosys. So Infosys will take the shares of Infosys company, approach a custodian institute in India, approach a custodian, submit the shares. Now, this custodian has an agreement with another custodian in USA. They will list depository receipts, DRs of Infosys company in USA. Is the logic okay? So, can Indian company get listed through depository receipts in USA? Yes. Can a foreign company get listed in India through depository receipts? Yes. This is basically the concept of depository receipts. And please remember this carefully. Please remember, depository receipts are considered to be part of EFDI. Deposit, because you are issuing shares, you are selling ownership, collecting money. RBI says depository receipts are part of EFDI, foreign direct investment. Now let me add one more very important point here. Right? The idea of a ADR, GDR, and IDR. Now, example 1, please look at it and tell me. Example 1, where are the depository receipts listed? Please look at example 1 and tell me, where are the depository receipts listed? Can I say, Are Baba, some of you are not reading correctly. Example 1, where are the depository receipts listed? These are listed in India or not? Please read. Right, my handwriting is not that bad also that you can't read. My handwriting is legible, you can read it. So can I say depository receipts are listed in India? So when these are listed in India, these are called as Indian depository receipts. All of you okay with why these are called as Indian depository receipt? Please do let me know right now. Where are they listed? Where are they listed? These are listed in India, hence called as Indian depository receipt. Look at second example. Example 2. Look at second example. Where are the depository receipts listed in second example? Where are the depository receipts listed in second example? This is right, USA. Can I call this as American depository receipts? All of you okay with this? Can I call this as American depository receipt? Any problem? So think of it. One is called as IDR. Whenever DRs are issued in Indian market, these are called as IDR. Second one is ADR, American Deposit Receipts. Whenever DRs are listed, issued in USA, these are called as ADRs. Third one is GDR, Global Depository Receipts. In case of Global Depository Receipts, these are issued in other markets. For example, think of it. Indian company will issue deposit receipt in European market. Is it ADR? I'll repeat the example here. I'll repeat the example. Indian company will issue the depository receipts in European market. Can I call this as ADR? No. Can I call this as IDR? No. Right? What is the name? Global Depository Receipts. Global Depository Receipts. Right? So there are three types of receipts here. Please remember. And deposit receipts are generally referred to as a part of FDI only, foreign direct investment. Okay, done. Can I go forward now? Can I go forward? So these are certain very important points regarding concept of FDI, foreign direct investment. Please be very, very careful. Now next one is FPI, foreign portfolio investments. Next one is FPI, foreign portfolio investments. Now what is foreign portfolio investments? Let's try and understand. So FPI simply means what? Any foreign investor. Now let me use one more term, right? And let me know if there is any difficulty. Can I say FPI can be any non-resident investor who will invest in financial instruments in India? I'll repeat the statement. I'll repeat the statement again. What is FPI? Any non-resident investor who will invest in financial instruments in India. Non-resident means what? Anybody who is residing outside India, not in Indian, outside India. Any non-resident Indian investor, right, who will be investing in India will be referred to as, again, in financial instruments. So these are called as FPIs. Now, many of you kept on asking me, then what is FPI? What is FPI? What is FPI? Or what is FII? In fact, we have discussed all of it. Right? Please do let me know. Right? Go back to earlier discussion. Can we say there are different types of non-resident investors in India? For example, what if an individual will invest in India? Is it allowed? Of course, yes. Right? An individual investor, of course, yes, they are allowed to invest in India. Just like you are allowed to invest in USA market, they are also allowed to invest in India. What about a financial institution such as a mutual fund company, insurance company, etc., etc.? They are also allowed to invest in India. So institutions are different, individuals are different. So now look at it and say, can I say, think of it, can I say FII is a part of FPI? Let me know. Can I say FII are part of FPI? Anybody has a problem? Sir, you have not discussed it. Please don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that I have not discussed. I'll tell you the context also. I gave you examples. I wrote also. Where? Open the financial market. Open the PPT on financial market. There's a concept of P note. Open that P note, right? Then have a look at it. Then have a look at it. You will realize. I gave you example of individuals. I gave you example of insurance company, mutual fund company. I said these are institutions. I can call them as foreign institutional investor. Whereas individuals such as you and me, we cannot be called as institutions. We will be retail investors. So category 1 as well as category 2. This is a classification. Please remember it. Now, in what way? In what way investment can come into India? One way is through FIIs, foreign institutional investments. Second one is fully accessible route. And the third one is voluntary retention route, FAR and VRR. The second and third are part of current affairs. Understand this very, very carefully. Both are part of current affairs. Very recently introduced by RBI, promoted by RBI. Listen to me very carefully now. Point number 1. Do you remember the concept of capital account under balance of payment? Can I say, because there is a concern of volatility that could be created by foreign investors in India, we have partial capital account convertibility. Yes, we have partial capital account convertibility. Current account is fully convertible. Capital account is partially convertible. That's a reason. Second, now think of it. You are the RBI governor. Your concern is that I'm a foreign investor. I will enter into India and run out of India very quickly. And that might lead to volatility in Indian market. But what if, I repeat, what if I voluntarily come to you and say that I will invest in India for 5 years? Please think of it. I will voluntarily come to you and I will promise you, I will guarantee that I will invest in India for 5 years. Don't you think whatever restrictions are commonly applicable for all the foreign investors, those restrictions should not be applicable to me? I'll repeat it again. I'll repeat it. Please understand the logic behind it. Your RBI, you're concerned that foreign investors will come into India today and they will withdraw the money tomorrow. And because of this behavior of the foreign investors, lot of volatility can be created in India. But what I'm saying is, I will come to you and I'm guaranteeing that I will keep my investments for 5 years in India. Before 5 years, I'll say I will not withdraw all my investments. I'll keep certain investments in India. So don't you think certain relaxation should be provided to me? Don't you think certain exemption should be provided to me? Because I'm not looking for short-term investment. I'm looking for long-term investment. That is the precise reason. Now there are two very important tools used, promoted by RBI. One is called as voluntary retention route. Second one is called as fully accessible route. Let me start with voluntary retention route. There is a limit on investment or how much FPI can flow into the debt market. There is a limit how much FPI can flow into debt market because withdrawal can create volatility. Now these limits to a certain extent will be relaxed. These limits will be removed on those foreign investors who are voluntarily guaranteeing to RBI that at least 75% of their investment will remain in India for at least 3 years. I'll repeat the statement here. Understand the statement. These kind of restrictions which are uniformly applicable to all the foreign investors in the debt market, these will be relaxed. These will be withdrawn only for those investors who will voluntarily guarantee to RBI that at least 75% of their investment will remain in India for at least 3 years. This route is called as voluntary retention route. And under this RBI, please remember this, under this RBI will give more preference to the investors who wish to invest for a longer duration in India. For example, think of it. You are the RBI governor. Two investors will come to you. One investor will say they will hold 3/4 of their investment for 4 years in India. First investor says they will hold 3/4 of their investment for 4 years in India. And second investor says they will hold 3/4 of their investment for 7 years in India. As an RBI governor, should you provide more preference for the first investor or the second investor? Don't you think if the second investor guarantees longer duration, you will give more preference for the second investor? So all of you okay with this? All of you okay? This route is called as a voluntary retention route. We attract through voluntary retention route long-term investors, not short-term. Not those who will come today and run out tomorrow. Long-term investors who wish to invest in the corporate bond market as well as government bond market. This route is called as voluntary retention route. Then this is called as a VRR. Next one is EFAR, fully accessible route. Now same logic, apply the same logic, but please understand this carefully now. Under VRR, we attract in corporate bond market as well as government bond market. Whereas in case of FAR, fully accessible route, RBI simply says only in certain government bonds. I repeat, only in certain government bonds, I want to attract long-term investors. Right? I want to attract long-term investors. What kind of government bonds? You want to attract long-term investments in 5-year government bonds. You want to attract long-term investments in 10-year government bonds. You want to attract long-term investments from the foreign market in 30-year government bonds. So Reserve Bank of India says those investors who want to invest for a longer duration in government bonds of 5-year tenure, 10-year tenure, 30-year tenure government bonds, I will relax some of the restrictions on these foreign investors, but they will be allowed to invest only in these government bonds. Done? So there is a limit on investment for FPIs in the debt market. In case of FAR, these kind of restrictions, when these foreign investors will invest on specified government securities, these restrictions will be withdrawn. These restrictions would be removed. Right? And what kind of government bonds are covered under fully accessible route? 5-year government bond, 10-year government bond, and 30-year government bonds. Done. So this is called as fully accessible route. Anybody has any kind of difficulty? Please do let me know. Anybody has any kind of difficulty to understand the difference between VAR and FAR? VAR can be corporate as well as government, whereas FAR specifically targeting certain types of government securities. And that is a basic difference between VAR and SAR. This is FDI and FPI. Okay. What is point 2? Arey Baba. Some of the restrictions which are there, these restrictions will be withdrawn. Right? Because there are restrictions, these will be withdrawn. Okay. That is a basic idea. Okay. Means in VRR and FAR, treasury bill investments. No, treasury bills are short term. Treasury bills are short term. These are not attracted in treasury bills. These are attractive for government bonds. So can DRs be called as IPO? My dear DRs, the company is already listed. Company is already listed. Why will you call this as an IPO? Company is already listed. Tesla is already listed. Infosys is already listed. Okay. Okay. Done. What is Tobin tax? Tobin tax was a proposal, right? Basically, Tobin tax means on these foreign investment which will go quickly. They will come into India quickly. They will go out of India quickly. They will create volatility. To cut the volatility, to reduce the volatility, a tax proposal was given, and that tax is called as a Tobin tax. Okay. Next, concept of special economic zones. SEZ. Concept of special economic zones. Now, what is a special economic zone? right? We have discussed the idea earlier. Let's have a detailed look at it. Special economic zones are those areas in which business and trade laws are different from rest of the country. What do you mean by this? I'll give a very simple example. Please listen to me very carefully now. Imagine this is India, and this region has been identified as a special economic zone. Imagine government of India has declared this corner as special economic zone. So rest of India will be called as a domestic tariff area. All of you remember this? Rest of India is called as a domestic tariff area, DTA. Now, what is the argument of SEZ? If you set up any unit in the SEZ, government of India will give you tax exemption. I'll repeat it. If you set up, let's say, a manufacturing unit in the SEZ, on this manufacturing, whatever profits you earn for 5 years, tax exemption is provided. Tax exemption, 100% tax exemption. And next 5 years, 50% tax exemption. And if you import anything, I repeat, if you import anything to manufacture this bottle, on the import, government will not impose any tariff. On the import, government will not impose any taxes. So now, please have a look at the first point regarding SEZ and tell me, does it make sense to you? Please look at the first point and tell me, does it make sense to you? SEZ is an area in which the business and trade laws are different from rest of the country, right? Laws are applied differently. Why? Many of you will ask me, sir, why is that so? Reason is that government of India will promote SEZs in order to promote exports, right? The idea is it is to promote more and more exports. In order to make exports more competitive, government will say whatever you are going to import, on that I will not impose taxes, so that you can export more and more. Point number 3, sir, what if I manufacture within SEZ, but rather than exporting, I will sell it in the domestic tariff area? Then what will happen? Please look at it. If you are manufacturing this bottle in the SEZ, right, by importing certain raw material, do you have an advantage over other domestic manufacturers? I'll repeat the statement here, right? For the manufacture of bottle, raw material is required. I'm outside SEZ, you are inside SEZ. Both of us will import raw material. I will pay taxes, you will not pay taxes. So, are you not having an advantage over me because you are not paying taxes? That is the precise reason whenever you manufacture anything within SEZ, rather than exporting, if you sell it in the domestic market, government will treat this bottle as an import. Government will treat this bottle as an import, and the government will impose taxes accordingly. Right? So whatever is produced, it is for export purposes. But rather than exporting, if you sell it in the domestic tariff area, it will be treated as an import. Government will impose taxes on it. So it is a duty-free territory outside the customs territory. Tax exemption, 100% tax exemption for first 5 years, 50% tax exemption in the next 5 years. The output in the SEZ, it is for export purposes. But if you want to sell it in the domestic tariff area, government will treat it as an import and impose taxes accordingly. And have a look at this. No import duty on any of the imported goods, but there is a condition. What is the condition? You will have to be a net foreign exchange earner. You will have to be a net foreign exchange earner. What do you mean by net foreign exchange earner? Imagine you will import a raw material to produce it. Can I say because of this, $10 are going out of India? There is an outflow of $10. Now, what government says is, right, whatever you import, as a result of this, right, the dollars are going out of India. Now, the earnings from your exports should be more than whatever dollars have gone out of India because of your import. Whatever imports you have done, dollars have gone out. Now, by exporting, you will have to earn more dollars. For example, here $10 have gone outside. Now your earnings, that is inflow of dollars, should be greater than $10. Can I say by exporting, imagine you have earned $20. Can I say you are a net foreign exchange earner of $10? Let me know. In this example, can I say you are a net foreign exchange earner of $10? That is a condition. That is a condition. You will have to be a net foreign exchange earner. Now, apart from this, who will develop the special economic zones? Government will provide the approvals, but it is the private sector participants who will develop SECs. Government will provide the approval, but government doesn't develop SECs. It is a private sector which will develop and operate SECs. The act provides for a single window clearance mechanism. That is, only one authority is present. You want to develop an SEC, you will have to take multiple licenses. You will have to take multiple approvals. You don't have to run from one ministry to another ministry. Only one authority is there. That authority, board of approval, will give you all the approvals required. Single window clearance mechanism. Right? So these are certain very important features of special economic zones. Now, how many SECs are working in case of India? There are more than 400 SECs which have been approved by the government. All of them are not operating. Around 267 are actually operating in India. Right? So more than 400 have been approved. More than 200 are operating in India. Point number 2. The whole idea of SEC was to promote exports. So what has been the performance of SECs in terms of exports? Please have a look at it. Back in the year 2005, right, sir, why only 2005? Please remember, government introduced SEC Act of 2005. By introducing and getting the bill passed, right, there is a provision, SEC Act of 2005. So exports, which accounted for 5% of total exports are done from India back in 2005, have increased to 24% by 2016, and now 18 and 19 exports from the SECs account for more than 30%. Right? Exports from SECs account for more than 30%. More than 400 have been formally approved, and the investment as well as employment. Right? Look at the last point as well. Investment in the SEC as well as employment in the SEC, all of them have increased. So this has been the performance of special economic zones performance. Having said so, are there any concerns? Are there any problems related to SECs? Point number 1, please let me know. If you are focused on the exports, will pandemic affect you? Let me know. Right? SECs, if you're focused on exports, will pandemic hit you? Of course, yes. Right? So, because of the pandemic, our exports from SECs have taken a hit. Point number 2, when government promoted SEC model, the whole argument was we want to promote manufacturing. But in case of India, as per an audit that was conducted by CAG, more than 67% of units in India, I repeat, more than 67% of units in the SEC are information technology / information technology enabled services, which means rather than promoting manufacturing, SEC has actually promoted more and more of service sector units. Third one, land acquisition is a problem in India. Land acquisition is a problem, right? It is very difficult to acquire land, huge amount of land for the promotion of SEC model. Fourth one, land has been acquired, but over a period of time, because of various issues, let's say pandemic, not getting credit from institutions, or because of a higher rate of interest on the loans, and now because of some of the partners, right, not interested in SEC anymore, because of various reasons, land has been acquired, approvals they have taken, but they are not utilizing the space now. They're not utilizing the land now. It has got stuck up like this only. And in many of the cases, dispute in the land will also delay the implementation of the project. Earlier, the subsidies were given by the government of India. SEIS subsidy and MEIS. Under the MEIS and SEIS, government used to provide lot of subsidies for the SECs. Now, both MEIS as well as SEIS have been suspended, which has also affected the subsidy flow to the SEC units. And finally, we do not have a complementary infrastructure. What do you mean by complementary infrastructure? Right? For example, we do not have sufficient, right? Let's say port infrastructure in India. Sufficient rather than sufficient, we can say efficient. We'll understand that tomorrow, don't worry. We do not have a efficient logistics sector in India. We do not have a efficient road infrastructure in India. We'll discuss what is the problem with the infrastructure tomorrow. Please do not worry about it. So complementary infrastructure such as roadways, railways, export infrastructure, waterways infrastructure is not available in India. So complementary infrastructure is also problem, right, related to SECs. Okay. Next, what is the reform then? What is the way forward? There was a committee which was set up by Government of India, Baba Kalyani Committee, right, around 16 and 17, 26 and 17. The government set up the committee, report has been provided, but government so far has not implemented any of these reforms. Nothing has been done as of now by Government of India. Just for sake of information, go through the recommendation. Let me go one by one. First one, we will have to restructure the model of SEC. Change the model of SEC. Promotion of exports from India. I repeat, right now SECs are focused on promotion of exports from India. Rather than this, we should focus on promoting investment. We should focus on promoting employment generation. That is the reason. Have a look at the change in the policies now. Point number one, the policy should be shifted. Rather than calling them as SEC, call them as employment economic enclaves. Rename the policy, change the focus of the policy. How can we do that? Right now, under SEC model, we are giving incentives based on exports that they have done. For example, MEIS, SEIS, everything is focused on export. Rather than that, why don't we provide incentives on investment? Why don't we provide incentives for job generation? Now, please think of it and also let me know. If you provide incentives for employment generation, are you going to violate any of the principles of WTO? Think of it. If you're going to provide incentives for investment, if you're going to provide incentives for employment, are you going to violate any of the principles, any of the laws under WTO? Absolutely no. Right? Are Baba, Amber Box. How? What are you reading? I don't know, Baba. Amber Box is related to manufacturing. Tell me. Amber Box is related to manufacturing. Right? That's a problem. You don't read correctly. Amber Box is related to agriculture. And I'm talking about manufacturing of the bottle and service sector. I don't know. Okay. So read carefully. You people don't read it carefully. Okay. So first one, change the policy. Link your incentives to investment. Link your investment to employment. Sunset provision has to be looked into. What is a sunset provision? Government said, I will give you tax exemption. For example, 5 years, I will give you 100% tax exemption. For next 5 years, I will give you 50% tax exemption. But these kind of exemptions are available only for 15 years. Only for 15 years. Means we announced the policy in 2005. 2020 should be over. So argument is, right, a sunset provision is there for the tax exemptions. Do not implement the sunset provision. Do not implement it. Provide more tax benefits. Attract more and more investment into these enclaves. Promote other types of services as well. Most of the, right, point number one, we have found that rather than having most manufacturing under SEC, More than 67% are service sector units. For example, IT and ITES. These are concentrated in the SEC. Rather than promoting only these IT and ITES, why don't we provide or why don't we promote other types of services as well? Promote other types of services. For example, financial services, right? Insurance services, etc. So other types of services are there. Promote them. Formulate a separate policy for service sector SEC as well as a manufacturing SEC. Only one policy is there right now. Have a separate policy for both of them. Should have a framework. You should have a framework to promote ease of in order to promote ease of doing business within SEC. And next, increase the competitiveness by promoting right road infrastructure, railway infrastructure, port infrastructure, so that exports can be done much more easily. Right. So these are some of the recommendations of Baba Kalyani Committee. Right. So that is related to concept of SEC. Please be very careful. Right. Please be very careful. Okay. So again, I'm saying committee recommendations are there. So far, Government of India has not implemented any one of them. They have not implemented any one of them. Okay. Now next, NIMZ. Now before I tell you NIMZ, it's a very small concept, not a very large, very small concept. Why very small concept? NIMZ is just a proposal. All of you okay with this? I'll repeat the statement. NIMZ is just a proposal. There is no NIMZ which is operating in India today. More than 20 NIMZs have been proposed, have been approved by the government. But so far, none of the NIMZs are operating. So if you ask me, sir, how much are they exporting? There is no answer. Sir, how much investment? No answer. How much jobs? Absolutely no answer, because none of them are operational so far. And as far as government is concerned, NIMZ model, it's a very old model. In fact, please remember, concept of NIMZ, National Investment and Manufacturing Zone, was actually proposed under National Manufacturing Policy 2011. I'll read the long form again. National Manufacturing Policy 2011. Under National Manufacturing Policy of 2011, government then proposed the idea for NIMZ. So despite it being more than 10-year-old model, none of the NIMZs are operating in India. These are just proposals as of now. So point number one, NIMZs will be developed as industrial towns. All of you have heard of industrial towns. For example, Jamshedpur. Tell me, Jamshedpur, can I say this is the best primary example of industrial towns in India? So argument is these NIMZs will be developed as industrial towns. And because it's an industrial town, to operate these industrial towns, a special purpose vehicle will be set up. Right? What is a special purpose vehicle? An authority. Very simple. One authority will be set up to look into the operations of the industrial town. For example, let me know. All of you heard of LED project in India? LED, National LED program. Have you heard of this or not? If you have not heard of it, please look at your LED bulbs. They will say these are basically promoted under the initiative of National LED program. Now, to promote National LED program, government set up one authority by the name of Energy Efficiency Services Limited, ESL. Energy Efficiency Services Limited, EESL. Right? Can I give you one more example of special purpose vehicle? All of you heard of bullet train project? Yes or no? Anybody in the classroom who says, sir, what is bullet train? I've never heard of it. Bullet train project, there is a special authority set up by the government to implement bullet train project. The name of the authority is National High Speed Railway Corporation Limited. National High Speed Rail Corporation Limited. So is the logic okay? Special purpose vehicle means an authority. It is an authority which has been set up for achieving specific objective. So in order to operate this industrial town, right, government will be setting up a special purpose vehicle. One authority will be set up. Now, what is this industrial town? It will have multiple manufacturing units. It might have multiple SECs. It can have units which are focused only on the exports, export oriented units, etc., etc. So that is basically a model of NIMC. Now, based on this, please do let me know. Can I say, at least on this point, can I say NIMC will be larger in size compared to SECs? Is the logic okay? I'll repeat the statement again. Can I say NIMC will be larger in size compared to SECs? Because SEC is focused on right very small land acquisition, up to 10 hectares, up to 1000 hectares, up to 500 hectares, etc. Whereas in case of NIMC, we are targeting 5000 hectares, 6000 hectares, very large acquisition of the land. Right? NIMC is a much bigger model compared to SEC model. Okay. Under NIMC, the proposal is that at least 30% of the land that we have acquired, at least 30% of the land that we have acquired, we will use it for promotion of manufacturing. At least 30% will use it to promote manufacturing. If the state government wants to promote, they can have a MSME policy to promote MSME within NIMC. State governments can promote MSMEs within the NIMC model. NIMC will also focus on clean energy and technological efficiency. For example, what about using renewable energy? What about harnessing solar energy, converting sunlight into electricity? Can I call this as focus on clean energy usage? So under NIMC, all of this will be done. Under NIMC, all of this will be done. And finally, within NIMC, we will also have skill development facilities so that people who are working, they will have option of getting better skill set and getting absorbed in a better industry or a higher package they can get. Right? Absorption will become much easier for them when skill development facilities are present. Right? So these are basically the features of NIMC. Features of NIMC. I cannot tell you how much profits they have generated. I cannot tell you how many jobs they have generated because none of the NIMCs are operating in India as of today. Right? Any other doubt? Any question that you people have? Please do let me know. So first industry come then town or town then industry. My dear, whenever you talk about industrial townships, so first industries are located. All of you okay with this? Whenever you talk about an industrial town, first industries will be located. And because industries are located, right, we will have many other, let's say, infrastructure. For example, if you look at Jamshedpur, first a steel plant was located. Steel plant was set up. Now, because steel plant is set up, right, in the vicinity of the steel plant, you will see housing sector being developed, right? Let's say restaurants being developed. You will see schools being developed, right? You will see other type of infrastructure as well. That is basically the idea of an industrial township. So please explain example one in the past slide of FDI. My dear, there are so many slides of FDI. Which one? Which point? I don't know which point are you talking about. Do we need to mug up NIMC? I don't think so because this is a very old model. Very old model. We do not have any functional NIMC, but at least try to remember the concepts. At least try to remember the concept. Okay. Okay. Done. So these are the features of NIMC. Again, I'm talking about NIMC. Some of you are asking questions about fiscal policy. What is the connection? I'm talking about NIMC. If you have a doubt about NIMC, you have a doubt about FDI, you have a doubt about, right? Ask that, right? You're talking about fiscal policy. Should I stop discussing industrial policies and start discussing fiscal policy now? How? Why NIMC is not implemented? Because of financing issues, because of land acquisition issues. Very difficult to acquire land in India. Very difficult to acquire so much amount of land. Okay. Deposit receipts in example 1 FDI. My dear, if a foreign company will come to India in the sense through deposit receipt, right? Foreign company will go to a custodian bank, submit their shares. This custodian bank will enter into agreement with Indian custodian bank. Indian custodian bank will issue these deposit receipts, list the deposit receipts in India. That is basically the process. Okay. In book, there are more concepts. Should we read? Okay. Generally, I'll come across two very interesting questions. Okay. One question is, sir, in books, so many things are given. Why are you not discussing? Right? Should we not read it? And second, very nice question, by the way. Sir, these terms are given in the syllabus, but you are not teaching. For example, many students will start pointing out, sir, you have not discussed land reforms. Very nice question. Okay, land reforms is mentioned in the syllabus and not discussed. Why? That will be discussed by one more faculty. But equally important, please look at the syllabus and tell me, is RBI mentioned in the syllabus? Those who are yet to see the syllabus. Is banking sector mentioned in the syllabus? If you look at it very carefully in GS paper 3, no, it is not mentioned. So my counter argument to some of the students will be, when you ask me, why are you not discussing this? Why don't you ask me, why are you discussing banking? Because it is not mentioned in the syllabus. Let me see. Anybody in the classroom who will say, why do you discuss banking? Because it is not mentioned in the syllabus. Nobody will ask that. But on the contrary, everybody will ask, why not this? Why not that? Why not this? Again, it's not that those topics are not important. Land reforms will be covered by faculty who is going to handle post-independence India. And there were two students who were asking me, sir, why do you not discuss cropping pattern? Why did you not discuss soil types? My dear, soil types, cropping pattern, etc. will be handled by geography faculty. I'm not the right faculty to discuss what is black soil, what is a literate soil, what is a red soil, how much magnesium is there, how much iron is there, what is parts per million. I'm not the right person. Right? Geography faculty will handle it. Don't worry. Don't worry. And regarding books, should we read the complete book? Not needed. Not at all needed. And lot of concepts that we are discussing in the classroom, these will not be present in the book. That is equally true. So my argument from the first class has been the same thing. Do not read the book from the first point to the last point. Not at all needed for UPSC. Right? Focus on the concepts which we are covering in the classroom. If something comes in the current affairs, focus on that. Okay, done. So these are certain points I wanted to discuss. Let me start with questions. Let me discuss questions now. Okay, in agriculture sector, questions were left out, correct? Okay, in agriculture, the descriptive questions were left out, or did I cover descriptive questions? Please do let me know. In agriculture sector, did I cover descriptive or yet to cover descriptive? Left. Okay, let me start. Elaborate the policy taken by the government of India to meet challenges of food processing sector. Right, I believe MCQs are done. Descriptive or left out. Let's solve it, don't worry. Elaborate the policy taken by the government of India to meet challenges of food processing sector. How do you address this kind of a question? Three very important parts. Start with introduction, go to the main body, then come to conclusion. Now, what should you write in introduction? Very simple. What do you mean by food processing? Define it. Come to the main body. What are the challenges? What are the challenges associated with food processing sector? One, fragmentation of the land. Lot of the farmers are small and marginal, which means output will not be very high. Productivity will be very lesser. Second one, right, we need to address the infrastructure bottlenecks, right? That is shortage of warehousing, shortage of shortage in terms of transportation infrastructure, etc. Third one, right, lot of the demand comes from urban India, but lot of population is concentrated in rural India. So we need to create certain products which are acceptable to the rural India part, right, etc. So we have discussed the challenges. In fact, there's a slide for challenges. Please have a look at it. Now, what kind of reforms have been undertaken by the government? What kind of measures government of India has taken in order to promote, right, in order to promote food processing industry? Right, let me know, did we discuss Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana earlier? Let me know, did we discuss Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, PMKSY? Under PMKSY, in fact, we have discussed two very important initiatives. One is Mega Food Park. Second one is a cold chain infrastructure scheme. Right? Mention both of them. Mention both of them. Right? Second one district, one product. I'll come to this. Just give me a minute. We also have introduced FDI in food processing. Correct? We are allowing FDI in food processing sector. What about a PLI now? It is not written, but it is an updated current affairs. You can write production linked incentive to promote food processing sector. What about PMFME? Pradhana Mantri, right? Basically, Pradhana Mantri formalization of micro enterprises, etc. So all of you okay with this? We have covered most of the schemes. One is yet to be covered. One district, one product scheme, ODOP. What is this one district, one product scheme? Right, very simple idea. All these districts in India, in all these districts, will try to identify at least one product which has export potential. I'll repeat the statement. In all the districts in India, will try to identify at least one product which has export potential. Now, because this has export potential, whatever are the problems, for example, skilled labor is not available, we'll try to provide the skilling in the district. Right? Let's say raw material availability is a problem, we'll try to promote accessibility of raw material. Technology availability is a problem, we'll try to promote accessibility to technology. International exports are very difficult for them, we will promote international exports, etc. So government of India is basically implementing lot of these reforms which will address whatever are the problems in supply chain of these products. For example, after the class is over, you can try it out. Imagine you want to purchase certain product from Rajasthan. In case of Rajasthan, toys are very famous. All of you know this. Textile products from Rajasthan are very famous. But earlier you wanted to purchase these products, you were literally had to go to Rajasthan or they used to come to here. Now what government of India has done is they have launched a portal, they have launched a website. You can try it out. Right? There is a website in the name of ODOP. Right, in the name of ODOP, there is a website. Right, logging onto the website, you can purchase these kind of products which are right produced in only these regions. Although these are slightly costlier because transportation, right, labor availability, etc. is a problem. But government of India is promoting the idea of a one district to one product. All of you okay with this? Please do let me know. Argument is very simple. Right, we will identify at least one product in all the districts in India. So how they will identify? They have set up councils. Right, there's a council at every district level, district export promotion council. It is the duty of this DEPC along with the SCPC to identify which product has export potential. They will identify it. They will try to address whatever concerns are there regarding the production, supply, export of this product. This scheme is called as a one district one product scheme. Okay, right? So these are certain important points regarding the concept of a food processing sector. Now, next question: what do you mean by minimum support price? How will MSP rescue the farmers from the low income trap? From the low income trap. Now, what do you mean by low income trap? Please understand this. There is a concept which has been given by Richard P. Nelson. Richard P. Nelson. What is the concept? As per Mr. Richard P. Nelson, any economy where people will have very low earnings, savings will be very low, investment will be very low, and again earnings will be very low. I'll repeat it. Please understand this. As per Mr. Richard P. Nelson, right, low level income trap, low level income equilibrium trap. What does it actually mean? Any economy where people's earnings are very low, their savings will be very low, investment will be very low, again earnings will be very low. Can I call this as a low income trap? Let me know. For example, imagine whole of India,
Incomes are very low. If incomes are low, what about savings? Do you think savings will be very high? Savings will be very less. And if savings are lesser, what about investment? Investment will again will be lesser. And if investment is lesser, what about incomes? Again, incomes will be lesser. So don't you think that's a trap? I hope you understand. Don't you think that's a trap? And don't you think in case of India, agriculture, that is farmers, are mainly stuck in this trap? Right? They have very low income. They will spend lesser. They will earn lesser. It's a trap for them. So what is the main body? Start with the introduction. Introduce the concept of MSP. Give the definition of MSP more than sufficient. Now come to the main body. In case of main body, right, discuss what are the issues of having low income trap. What are the issues of having low income trap? Sir, questions. What are the issues of having low income trap? Right, write them. Investment would be lesser, right? The savings would be lesser. The farmers, right, will keep on contributing or will keep on remaining in poverty, etc., etc. Then, right, introduce. Already you've given the definition of MSP. Now define MSP. Sorry, give the importance of MSP. What is the importance of MSP? Right, have a look at this. MSP, can I say, irrespective of whatever the market prices? MSP, irrespective of whatever the market prices, farmers will be guaranteed with certain prices. Yes or no? Whatever is the market price. Government says MSP is 1,000 rupee, then the farmers, irrespective of market price, will get 1,000 rupee. Right? Whatever is the market price risk, farmers will not face that. It will also incentivize agriculture production. If government will provide more MSP for a particular crop, production of that will increase. Supply will also be promoted. So these are some of the right points in the favor of MSP. Right. So what do you mean by MSP? We have addressed that. How MSP will rescue the farmers? How MSP will rescue the farmers from low income trap? We have addressed that also. Right. So that is basically the answer, model answer to the question. Now some of you are asking, sir, can we write limitations of MSP? My dear, if the question is 150 words or 250 words, then this itself will take most of the coverage. This itself will take the most of the coverage. So please be very careful. Third, what are the reformative steps undertaken by the government to make food grain distribution system much more effective? Right, start with introduction. Under introduction, Government of India has introduced right many reforms, such as Government of India in recent times has taken many reforms in order to promote and make the food grain distribution much more simple and effective. Now come to the main body. What reforms have been undertaken? For example, NFSA. All of you okay with NFSA? National Food Security Act. NFSA is a National Food Security Act. Second one is a targeted public distribution system, wherein we are not going to provide food grains for everyone, but we are going to target certain beneficiaries only. What about food grain ATM? Is it also not a reform? What about end-to-end computerization? One nation, one ration card, etc. Right? Even in case of procurement, buffer stocks are being procured. Right? All these are basically some of the reforms that have been undertaken by the government in order to make the food grain distribution much more efficient. Right? Having said so, there is a need for having more reforms. For example, instead of having a higher subsidy burden, and also ensuring, right, also ensuring that the beneficiaries will use the food grains correctly, can we use e-rupee voucher system? Can we reduce the beneficiary coverage from 67% to 40% as recommended by Shanta Kumar committee? Can we restructure the composition so that whatever population, because we are covering 2011 population, right, instead of 2011 population, can we use a recent data to enhance the coverage under target public distribution system? Right, so these can be the way forward that you can recommend in order to conclude this answer. Done. Right, so these are the questions which have come in right previous years from agriculture sector. Industries, right, we are yet to cover the questions. We are yet to cover, we'll discuss that tomorrow. Okay, done. So, if you have any questions regarding what I've discussed, please do let me know. Sir, is RBI does decentralization as part of OMO for controlling money circulation whenever any foreign company invest in Indian market? Not whenever they invest, not whenever they invest. It is basically when the investment, that is dollar inflow, will start, right? Or inflow and outflow will have an impact on rupee value. Until unless it does not have an impact, there is no need. What is the meaning of turnover? My dear, turnover means revenue. Revenue should not have crossed more than 100 crore in annual year. In 1 year, your revenue should not have crossed more than 100 crores. Why LPG reforms did not reflect in manufacturing sector in spite of so many initiatives of government? My dear, please understand, forget about that. Even today also, there could be multiple reasons. For example, right, it could be very difficult to get skilled labor. That's a problem, right? Investment could be more in services sector. Even if it is done in manufacturing sector, it could be more, right, capital investment rather than a labor investment. There are multiple reasons. Discuss Farm Bill 2020 in detail. Why? What is the need? All those bills have been withdrawn. Why do you need Farm Bills 2020? Not at all needed now. Okay. What is APMC? APMC stands for Agriculture Produce Market Committee. Okay. In a question I saw, they asked tools of NFSA. Tools of NFSA? What tools of NFSA? It is basically what, under tools of NFSA we are talking about targeted public distribution system. We are talking about one nation one ration card, or even a food grain ATM. These are basically the tools which we are using to implement NFSA. Okay. Can I tell that services sector is infrastructure? No, my dear. Service sector is not equal to infrastructure. In order to implement service sector, we are going to use infrastructure. Sunset clause means basically a provision which has a deadline, which has a, right, an expiry date. Multiple times we are discussing this, right? Once is, what is a sunset? Sunset simply means anything that has got a deadline, which is called as a sunset provision. Limit on subsidy and countervailing measures. How do you say it is violating? You tell me. You tell me how is it violating, only then I can tell you it is not violating, because under that incentives are linked to investment. Incentives are linked to sales. We are not providing export linked subsidy anywhere. Is NFSA only for BPL family? No, right? A BPL as well as non BPL. Okay, done then. So let me stop the discussion today here. Tomorrow we'll start the discussion. We will cover concept of PPP. Right? We'll cover the concept of PPP. Then we'll discuss infrastructure tomorrow. Okay, so take care. See you tomorrow morning, sharp at 6 a.m.